Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. Happy Thanksgiving for all of those who celebrate, most likely most folks in the U.S., and those who got a day off, and those who just ate well. I am your host, Roddykat, and you can find me at Roddykat on Twitter and now Hive. You can also find me on at News Nerds Need on Twitter. You can also find me at CBCaps on Instagram.
South Carolina with Columbia down the way.
And sound effects you've heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, @agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram.
What's up, everybody? Happy day after Thanksgiving for, that's the day that we chose to record. So thanks for joining us. Because that's where I am hosting from.
Indeed. And you can find this here podcast on the Coastal Podcast Network, that's cspn.us.
Do it today.
And you can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the Coastal Podcast Network's SoundCloud page, and now on Hive at Comic Book Chron.
There it is.
Because you got to stake your claim, even though I'm hearing reports of someone could still use the same name at this point for some reason, but it is what it is.
Listen, we have to take precautions. We have to take measures and steps. So, you know what, folks, we're all in this particularly weird state of social media upheaval. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, stick with us either way.
And it's a new social media site, so they're getting their legs on them, so they need some time. But apparently there are a lot of that's where a lot of the comic book creator folks ended up going.
Yes.
A lot of them.
Yes, many of them. I saw lots of Insta posts and a few Twitter posts saying to follow them on Hive.
Yep. So join us on there. We'll try to keep that nice and populated, probably slightly in a similar manner to the Instagram, but we'll see how that works out. At any rate, we are here tonight, as Agent 70 said, the day after Thanksgiving. All nice and plump and fed and all that kind of good mess separately. But comics never sleep. Sometimes we do, but comics never sleep. But we're going to start off with a spoiler-free / light recap of Star Wars Andor's finale.
Yes, episode 12. So ultimately, we do not want to spoil too much of this, folks, because people get tied up preparing for Thanksgiving. People are traveling. You might be listening to this podcast and still not have had an opportunity to watch the 12th and final episode of season 1 of Andor. So we are going to take it very easy on the spoilers, but just in case, here we have the spoiler bell to let you know we're going to be touching upon at least some spoiler-ish talk for Andor season 1, episode 12, that is, in 3, 2, 1, spoilers incoming.
Yeah, so the episode is called Rick's Road, which is a place of note that has been in and out of this series of note, because it is basically seems like it's like the main street amongst despite the history that it also has on it. Right. But it seems like it is the main street of Ferrix. The folks everyone on all sides are getting ready for the procession, the going home procession of Marva Andor. That includes the ISB and the town folks, and a newly incoming Cassian Andor, who just happened to pop up after hearing about his mom's passing, his adopted mom's passing. Let's say, because not his real mom, but yeah.
Right.
So that's pretty much the crux of it. The ISBs thinking they're setting a trap because, you know, knowing that Cassian's mom is dead, they're thinking it's like, well, he's got to come home, right? And they're looking for him, and Luthen's looking for him, and everybody's looking for him. That one creepy dude Cyril just happened to find out also and is looking for him. So everybody's come together on Ferrix just for pretty much for Cassian's sake, let's just say.
Yeah, right.
This is I would say it's a longer than normal episode because it was longer than what they have been, because this is actually pretty much stretching a full hour, it looks like. And this is one thing I was
about to hold that thought with a post credits or mid credits.
That which is where I was about to go. Yeah, I was about to say, and spoiler alert, yeah, there's the first official Star Wars end credit scene.
Yep.
So yes. And it did not disappoint, because it answers a question that I know people have had since probably 3 or 4 episodes ago. As to a thing, we will not spoil that, but a big thing that people have been asking. Actually, somebody was like, it'd be funny if which I knew for a fact that it wasn't. It was like somebody online was like, it'd be funny if it just rolls right on into Rogue One, which Rogue One kind of did the same thing with A New Hope, but we know that, you know, this is getting another
exactly. There's another whole season to roll into Rogue One.
Right. So I knew that wasn't going to be the case, but I found that funny that somebody did that. But it also, in a way, it kind of did. Not directly, but
yeah, not directly. But ultimately, I'll tell you that I listened to a podcast, and my memory is shot nowadays, folks. You know, because I don't take as many notes when I'm listening to podcasts, and so I kind of jumble some of the podcasts that I listen to. So I've forgotten which podcast I listened to, and I flubbed this a few weeks ago. Which particular podcast I listened to that had Tony Gilroy, the writer, basically the showrunner of Andor, on it, and he basically let the podcast's hosts know, as well as the listeners, that there's going to be quite a time jump between Andor, like the events of various events during Andor season 2 and the events of Rogue One. So it's not going to be the course of, it's not going to, the story that's covered in Andor season 2 is not going to cover the span of months or even a year. It's going to be maybe several years at a pop. So, for like a certain story arc. So ultimately, we will see how that develops next season.
Right. And I can't remember.
I don't know if you heard that.
That it wasn't. I knew. Well, I believe there has been stories about where it's going. Yes, but not. I don't remember.
Not the time jump part.
Right. I don't remember seeing about the time jump part though.
Right.
But yes, I know where it's going.
I specifically heard that. So.
Right. In fact, we may or may not. Actually, we might not know. But yeah, I think I have seen news about where it's going. Put it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Potential places. Well, where the place is. Excuse me, where it's going. But one woman in particular. At any rate, like I said, saying too much more would probably give away some stuff we don't want to necessarily do. But I will go so far as to say that. As I was telling Agent 70 before the show, like I wasn't sure what to expect out of this finale, but it was fitting. It has me still continuously excited to see the next season come up, whenever that happens.
Listen, ultimately, I think that we've read and heard some, kind of disappointing things about the amount of viewership, the level of viewership for this show, and it's disappointing because this is probably the best Star Wars we've gotten, TV or movie, in a while, and especially live action. Hands down, live action is probably the best Star Wars we've gotten in a long time. And I've heard this, and I've said this on the show, that Andor is Star Wars for grown-ups, and I've had people agree with me. I've had, I've also heard that there are some people that kind of misunderstand that, but ultimately this is really great storytelling. It's really solid writing by Tony Gilroy and friends, because we know that he did not write the entirety of the season, but he basically show ran or shepherded the entirety of the show. So ultimately we have him and that writing staff, that writer's room, to thank for a really strong season of Star Wars television that definitely felt not like traditional Star Wars. Right. If you're into and I'll tell you this, I've played, and I've mentioned this before, I've played some Star Wars role playing in the past, and I was one of those people that was fixated on being a Jedi. Now, and it's probably because I was not one of the people who was up on the comic book lore, nor was I up on the novel lore, right? Mm-hmm. The extended universe, the formerly extended universe stuff. And, well, now what's now become extended universe stuff, that is.
Right.
And because I wasn't up on that, I didn't really, care for pilots and mechanics and spies and Republic soldiers and mercenaries and all the other characters that you find yourself possibly playing as a role player in a Star Wars role-playing game. I wanted the Force, I wanted magic powers, I wanted a laser sword, right? But now I have a much deeper affinity for the characters that you might be able to play as a member of the nascent resistance, the nascent rebellion. And I understand where they're coming from a lot better now, really because of the writing behind this show.
Right.
It really is that strong, folks. So I would say that, it's, this show has done a lot for my deeper understanding of the rebellion in Star Wars.
Right.
And the characters and the conditions that lead to fomenting rebellion.
Pockets.
Exactly. Pockets of resistance that don't know that they are working together.
Yes. Oh yeah, that dude was around this episode, but he didn't really say too much. That dude, I don't know what to say. Anyway, oh, actually, going back to, well, yeah. So going off what you were saying about that, I never played the RPG, but I've seen enough of it to know that, like, yeah, I probably would have wanted to play Jedi, but also I kind of teetered around bounty hunters and smugglers, kind of wanting to see, to play that side of it. If I were to ever play it, no, I don't have it. I was about to say, I think I have a copy of the game, but I don't. I don't know. I don't. I have a.
Oh, I was about to say, I definitely do have like an older rule book.
I have a Star Wars game, but I think it's the card game. So, which scale surprise there for anybody who knows. But
sure. I have the book that has art from the prequel trilogy on it.
Is it the red one? The red covered book?
I'll get it in a second. Hold on.
While he's getting that, I'm gonna say hello to everybody that's watching and/or listening after the fact. Shout out to Benji Games too, who's in the chat, been coming through. Appreciate you coming through. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. If you celebrate, that is, them leftover sandwiches and soups will be hitting this weekend. I am very sure. So. Oh, and actually, Agent 7 reminds me, I have a show and tell later on in the show. Okay, that's not
I know.
But yeah.
1 second. Here we go. No, that's not happening.
Okay, almost there.
Oh, I
got
really wish I had put up my green screen tonight, folks.
It's got a Force Ghost thing going on, but it's all right. Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. Seriously.
I did hope the same for both of you. Yeah. I can. Yeah, we had. It was good. Hey, matter of fact,
there we go.
Hang on, let me give you the close up here. Boop. There we go. Oh, that one. Okay.
Yep. This is copyright. Yeah, this is from Wizards of the Coast. So when is this copyright? 2002. Wow, that's how old this is.
Yeah, and Wizard. I don't know if Wizards doing anything with it. Actually, not. I think Fantasy Flight has it. They don't. Wizards don't even own the Star Wars license anymore.
Role playing game.
Yeah, I think it's Fantasy Flight has it. I looked it up. Anyway, that being said, that's cool though. I looked it up while we were going through the book. Just taking time to do that now. But the only other thing I was going to mention about the from the show was there was a character. As soon as I saw him show up, I was like, "This dude needs to get." And I hated the fact that it was a black dude.
Oh, the traitor!
Yes, and I hated it. I was like, you know what? He gotta go.
I was so annoyed at that.
Yeah, I was like, this dude, and I knew he was going. He was there for no good. And sure enough, I was like, and I hated it for him, but I didn't hate it for him, but he had to go. Snitches get stitches. So, but I was like, why had to be him? Why had to be the brother? Man, come on. So, but otherwise, like I said, it was a great episode. Looking forward to next season. That being said, if we can, unless somebody's got something else.
No,
okay,
no. Although this brings back fun memories. Now, it's funny. So you Google that, like, if there is a Star Wars RPG out there?
I mean, it's probably still around. I think, I think Fantasy Flight has it though. Star Wars RPG.
Oh yeah, I see. Yeah. Age of Rebellion RPG. Yeah.
Fantasy Flight. Yep. Yeah, they have it now. I've
never heard of Fantasy Flight games.
They've been around a few years at this point, and I think this is one of the things that I've known them for. Like they do a lot of role playing stuff, but I think this is where I found out about them. So yeah, they took it up from Wizards, which is a slightly surprise, but at the same time, I guess at the time that Wizards gave it up, Star Wars was not the was not the property it come back into be. They even have a Lord of the Rings one, by the way.
Oh, Fantasy Flight.
Yeah, and they have a Marvel one too.
Interesting.
Oh no, it's Marvel Champions.
Well, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. That's the other thing. Marvel Champions is the card game I showed you. They also do that. They also do card games.
I see it. Okay. Yeah, I'm on their website. Not we're not promoting anything.
No.
They have a My Hero Academia game too. Okay.
So yeah, they like I said, they've been doing some things. But nevertheless, we are going to move over into talking about Agent 70 saw the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, and while it just came out the day of our recording, he's not going to spoil it, and I haven't seen it yet.
No, I am not going to spoil it, although I will tell you that there is a post-credit scene. It truly is post-credits, like right at the end. So I believe there is a button that you can press. It does give you a cue to skip right to the post-credit scene.
Okay.
So that pops up.
Right.
But yeah, it's enjoyable. Yes, it's not a spoiler because we know what the basis of the story is. It does revolve around Kevin Bacon, who does play himself, in fact. So it's fun. It's lighthearted. I will tell you that there are plenty of connective through lines between Guardians 2, the special, and what will be Guardians 3.
Which that has been rumored.
There are little to no connections to
anything else?
To Love and Thunder,
right.
That is.
Oh, right.
They
did show up there.
Right. There's little to no connection to Love and Thunder, but at the end of the day, what we know in Love and Thunder, and we're not spoiling this one because this movie's been out for a while.
Right.
We talked about it, that, you know, the Guardians and Thor do part ways in that movie. So there's no real need necessarily for connective, you know, for any lines of connection between that movie and this special.
I didn't put it in the news lineup, but I think I came across some news that possibly could be a spoiler for the holiday special, but I didn't read all the way through it.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's the case, because it could have been very well been something about Guardians 3.
Gotcha.
So, but I suspect this character is probably involved with both. Let's just say.
Sure.
But that's cool. Yeah, I'm probably gonna watch it during the course of this weekend. I watched Andor like early this morning, like 3:00 this morning. So I was up when the Guardian special came out.
Okay.
But I was like, you know what? I'll watch it later, but I didn't get around to it. So, 'tis what 'tis. That being said, we can get over into the books of the week. And we are going to start off with, Amazing Spider-Man number 14.
So, Amazing Spider-Man number 14 is written by Zeb Wells. This issue is divided into 4 parts. Into 4 story parts, 4 segments of the story, and they each have different artistic teams connected to them. The first one is titled Spring, with art by Michael Dowling and colors by Richard Isanove. Summer is up next, with art by Kyle Hotz and colors by Dan Brown. Next comes Fall, with pencils and colors by Terry Dodson, inks by Rachel Dodson, and finally Winter, with pencils by Ryan Stegman, inks by Tim Townsend and J.P. Mayer, and colors by Matt Hollingsworth. Letters throughout the issue are by our very favorite Paisan, who letters VC's Joe Caramagna. Ultimately, this is the setup to the Dark Web crossover between the X-Men and Amazing Spider-Man, wherein we find out just how Chasm, formerly the Scarlet Spider Ben Reilly, makes his way into the presence of one Goblin Queen, aka Madeline Pryor. Now, if you read the Free Comic Book Day issue, you knew what was going on, but ultimately they hammer this point home in this issue, that these two characters have one very strong aspect of their origins, their natures in common, in that they are both, and if you're a fan of this show and you know and you have a little bit of history, historical comic book knowledge on you, or you're just of a certain vintage, you will know and understand that these characters are both clones of prominent Marvel Comics heroes. And that's essentially where this, the story kind of emanates and continues from that connection.
Yeah, even with that, it was, even knowing that Madeline was going to be a part of this, it was still weird that she would be a part of this because of her recent her recent turn in New Mutants. But they slightly address that, but it still doesn't make that complete amount of sense. Like, maybe there's going to be a little bit more to it. Now, granted, from what we found out here, whether things are going to get directly tied to her or not, but the fact that she's with it in any case is still kind of weird to me.
Yeah, I would agree with part of that, because I think that they addressed it, and it will probably strike many as being somewhat true to character.
Yes,
right?
But at the same time,
recent characterization, right? The recent characterization in New Mutants was what felt wrong to me.
Really?
Matt. Her recent characterization, got the Goblin Queen Madeline Pryor's characterization felt a little off to me, but the way was that Vita?
Vita Ayala. I believe she is the one writing New Mutants. They, excuse me, not she. Sorry.
Yeah. I was about to say, Vita Ayala, I think wrapped up their run on that book.
I think
with that Madeline Pryor story, correct?
I believe you are right.
We always joke about our memories going because we read too many books, folks. But ultimately, the way that story was wrapped had Madeline Pryor taking over the leadership, the rule of Limbo, over from Magic, Ilyana Rasputin. And so the reasons for that were, at least to me, a little bit, I don't want to say sus. I am too old for that. Suspect is the old school term, which is just sus shortened. Which is shortening, shortening of suspect. I just thought that particular characterization was a little suspect. And I feel like this characterization of the Goblin Queen is much more true to what we understood her character to be.
So and let me tell you why I'm going to disagree with that. Like, yes, you're right about that, but at the same time, they have been doing a lot to kind of redeem a lot of mutants on Krakoa. Like they did it with surprisingly enough with Shadow King and whatnot, and so I figured they were trying to turn the corner. I was like, no, we're going to get her away from that stuff and try to redeem her somewhat. And that's why they put her in that position, as opposed to bringing her back once again to her old thing. Like, just like that's, I'm like, all right, we've seen her in this before. Like, that I felt like the stuff that we're doing, that they were trying to do in New Mutants, is probably a better fit. Not a better fit. Let me phrase that. Just a different fit, because like, once you put somebody like that into this, and to see how they kind of turn out, if they were going to use her anymore, I would much rather see that than her going back to the same old thing. So while classically, right. Yes, you're right. It is definitely true to her classic character, but it's like, why are we back here again so soon?
I would just say that, giving her, basically taking Ilyana away as a foil,
right?
Because I think that's the difference. And ultimately we'll see if this if this reversion of character sticks, or if, this redemption arc that they're trying to put her, that they seem to be trying to put her on, sticks. We'll see which one actually remains, or if they kind of find something in the middle and have her be that chaotic neutral. Shout out to the D&D.
She's the mutant Loki, basically.
You know what I mean?
She's the mutant Loki, basically.
Right, or something along those lines. In that her alignment is not necessarily good or evil, but definitely on the side of chaos. Right. So. Yeah. We'll see how that rolls, but ultimately, that's what this issue sets up, is the whole point of this crossover.
Yeah. Ultimately, we'll see. But like I said, it's still, this part of it just doesn't strike right with me, because of especially the object of her pursuit in this thing is kind of weird. But we also know the X-Men are going to be involved with this dark web thing, so we'll see how that all plays out. Right. That being said, I'm not sure there's anything else to say about.
No, not without spoiling too much. But we ultimately see that how this partnership is formed, and we also have the introduction of a brand new character. At least a character takes on a new persona.
Yes. Oh, actually, yeah. And speaking of New Mutants run, apparently I did not know this before reading this issue, was that Zeb Wells actually wrote some New Mutants back in the day that this references back to, in one small part. So
you mean post Hoxpox?
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Way when you say way, you make me think before Hoxpox. I'm like, no,
way before. This was like 2000. Oh, I forgot, because I read it. I actually read the episode.
Hoxpox. Okay.
Yeah, way before Hoxpox. It was like
Okay.
early to mid 2000s.
Okay.
Yeah. It was New Mutants Volume 3, which was like 2005 or 6 or something like that. I don't know. It was a while back. But either way, like I said, I read the episode earlier because I wanted to see what the context was, what they were bringing up here, which doesn't seem like it was much, but nevertheless, it was like the end of his run on New Mutants. So I'm like, huh, okay. And also, two things. The bill collector dude, which we were which apparently we were promised that he was going to show back up. He does show back up in this, and you know he has a part to play in
Right.
this, weirdly enough.
And he was surprisingly aggressive for someone collecting for a hospital bill.
Right.
I'm like, yo, that is not realistic.
Right. And I was like, okay, he needs to have his comeuppance very, very soon. But apparently, there's things in store for a dude.
Yes. You know, I'm just like, wait a second, man, seriously?
Right. Like I was on that same line, like you coming off like real, like granted, what I expected for such an aggressive action happened to him, but then what happens after that?
Right.
It was like,
I just got, you know, I was just like, wow, you know what, good, you know, like, you know, I'm glad they got this guy,
right,
you know,
right. Because I was like, because when they said it was like, well, yeah, we hadn't seen him in a couple of issues, and I think there was a foot, and I was like, oh, don't worry, you'll see him again, and here we are to this, and sure, it ended up being kind of amusing, I dare say. The only other thing, it was like there was I know sometimes you have to put one and two together to kind of to get someone's involvement of a thing. The same went with the Madeline Pryor thing, but Janine's involvement at the beginning of this, well, what led to her involvement of this seems like a weird, quick escalation. Like it's not outside of the realm of her character that we know of. Like granted, I don't know that much about this character, but like I said, it doesn't seem out of the realm of possibilities for her character, but it seemed kind of quick,
right,
for what happened in here. You know, because first she was like, "No, I'm getting away from all of this," and then I was like, "Nope, I'm all in." So, and I recognize that's kind of a thing you kind of have to do. You don't have to do in comics, but you kind of got to get there some kind of way. So I recognize that, but it still seemed kind of quick and weird. So, nevertheless, that was amazing. Spider-Man 14. The Dark Web stuff is quickly upon us.
Yep.
So yeah, I guess next issue or whatever the next line in that event is going to come soon. That being said, we can go over to, I don't know, pick a book.
Let's do X-Men 17.
Okay, sure.
So X-Men number 17 is written by Jerry Duggan with art by Joshua Cassara. Colors are by Guru EFX and letters are by VC's Clayton Cowell. So it's the conclusion of sorts to a story you did not think you wanted. And it is the return to the vault. And Forge is encountering some issues on the other side of the vault as he is on a rescue mission. And the rescue mission doesn't exactly as he expected. Unexpected surprises that were revealed in the cliffhanger page, on the cliffhanger page of the last issue. And so we have here the follow-up and conclusion to Forge's adventures in the vault and dealing with certain children of the vault. Ultimately, though, things kind of work out, and there is a mystery left at the end of the issue that you have to read the text page to understand.
Right. So, yeah, like, I think, I dare say, his original mission, unbeknownst to him, went off as planned. It doesn't seem like that way on the surface, but I think judging from that letter page that you're talking about, it did and it didn't. Because as we come to find out in the course of the story, like, yeah, what he what he went in there for, he didn't think he went in. He got, but I suspect some aspect did come out with him.
Right. Right.
But
Well,
he ended
that's
up-
the mystery.
Right.
That's the mystery. We're not 100% sure what this page means just yet.
Right. But it seems slightly obvious. If you, well, actually it's not slightly. Let me rephrase. It seems obvious to me. I'm gonna say it that way, judging by what that page was saying. What happened.
Right.
And given what we know about one of the his original mission, I'll say.
Right. But it's still a mystery.
Yes. So
it's definitely not 100% clear. You know, it may seem, that's why I didn't want to say that it seems, you know, completely clear who it is.
Right.
And just leave it up to interpretation, because when people read it, they will probably come up with the same conclusion that you and I did. But ultimately, it's still left vague for us to see where this, where this develops going forward. As, you know, it seems like they're going to keep touching upon issues that come up with this vault, you know, and who they ultimately end up rescuing from the vault.
Right. And that is more to the forefront of my curiosity. Well, the mystery also definitely, but the person he does end up rescuing, that's going to cause something. That's going to cause a wrinkle in Krakoa, at least for the time that this character is around. Because you got to figure something's going to happen with this character and another character, if and or when they interact. Because clearly there's going to be some things. There's some things that
they have to hash things out.
Exactly.
Right.
So, like I said, without giving it away, but yeah, you would also have to remember the original mission that that caused Forge and them to have to go in there in the first place. So, which we will not go into. But it's curious. It's a curiosity nonetheless. So, Jerry Duggan has stoked some fires.
Yeah. There's definitely some different directions that the story can go in now.
Right. So I'm quite curious about that. That being said, though, we can push on to. You want to hit that Doctor Strange book, or do you think?
No.
Okay, that was a weird one, but
no, there's not much to it. It's a weird read.
Yeah.
I guess we could just talk about it very quickly. Doctor Strange Fall Sunrise number 1 of 4. So this is a 4-issue limited series. It's written and drawn by Trad Moore with colors by Heather Moore. Letters are by VC's Clayton Cowles and Trad Moore. So this is a trip. Now, I was not high, nor was I drunk when I read this. So maybe that hindered my comprehension of what was going on.
I don't think it would have helped.
Ultimately, or at least my appreciation for what was going on. Ultimately, there is minimal text when you get to the mid to late part of the book. A lot of the setup is, early on, and it's still rather hard to decipher what's going on, right? Ultimately, there is sounded like Whitney Houston, because it was nothing. And I was just like laughing to myself when I read that. I was like, seriously, Trad Moore? I was like, yo, why is that popping into my head? And that's literally what's on the page.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. Trad Moore's art has always, well, not always, but for a lot of times been a bit trippy.
Yes.
And works for certain stuff. And this is one of the cases where it works, but to me, it also kind of detracted from the story. Because there was a lot going on in the art, and it was borderline a bit too psychedelic at times. Even though it felt straightforward, it's particularly straightforward, but at the same time, the pages were all busy.
Yeah. And what's funny is that this miniseries seem to touch upon Stephen Strange's origin, right? So it's definitely meant for people who don't necessarily have the most familiarity, the greatest amount of familiarity with the character, although, or at least it serves as a refresher, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if this will read much easier as a collected trade when all 4 issues come out.
I would like to believe so. Part of me, based on some text in that, was thinking, wait, is this what happened like right after he quote unquote died? Before what we know ends up happening in the Pages of Strange?
Right.
So that, it kind of made me wonder about this. Or this could very well be some lost, quote unquote, new old story that we, that they're retconning in for some odd reason.
Right.
We don't know that yet. But to me, it felt better to me if I was reading this. I was like, oh, wait, this is what happened after he died. This is the trip he took after he died. Because spoiler alert, we know that's not necessarily the case, even though it kind of
exactly
is, if that doesn't make any sense. But next time we talk about Strange, I'm sure that this will come back up. So stay tuned, folks. But nevertheless, yeah. So this is part 1 of 4, and yeah, I don't know. I'm probably going to continue reading it because it's got me curious, especially with that character that came in near the end of this book. Because I've seen images of that character on social media, so I'm kind of curious as to what their stake in is, or what their part in this is. I was like, is this going to be another Sana? Which is a character we hadn't seen in a couple of volumes with Doctor Strange, but that's the first thing I thought of when this character showed up. Well, we shall see. That being the case, I guess if we're going to have one more book, I know the one that you would probably want to talk about. If we're going to talk about it, might as well go ahead and get it, right? And that's G.I. Joe.
Sure, we're going to mention it. Yeah, we're going to mention it now because I think it was probably one of those books that really struck a chord with multiple members of the Comic Book Chronicles panel, and that is G.I. Joe. Surprise, surprise, surprise. G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero, number 300, published for the last time, at least for this volume, for the last time, by IDW. The book is written by Larry Hama, with art by S.L. Gallant, inks by Maria Keene, colors by Jay Brown, and letters by Neil Uyetake. So if with G.I. Joe as it raced to its publishing conclusion, and I say that specifically, as it raced to its publishing conclusion at IDW, because, if you're not familiar with it, there is kind of a greatest hits reprise nature to this story.
That's a nice way to put it.
And this is nothing against Larry Hama because he's the one that wrote it.
Right.
So if there's anyone that's going to do a reprise or a remix or take his story, take his own stories and scratch and mix and put the fader on it and change the speed and the tempo and flip the beats, he's the one to do it.
Yeah.
So I have to, give him a lot of latitude when it comes to this, but I definitely appreciated some of the things that happen in this issue, some of the moments that happen in this issue, because I found myself kind of like, ooh, that's so cool.
Right out the gate.
Exactly. I'm like, ooh, that's so cool. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of classic characters that play a part in this that harken back to the like my heyday as a G.I. Joe fan.
Yeah, the Marvel run.
Exactly. And everyone from Wade Collins, they refer to Storm Shadow as Tommy.
Yeah.
they don't call him Tommy Arashikage, but he's Tommy,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I think that was his last name. It's supposed to translate into Storm Shadow.
Yes, sure. I don't remember, but yes, we'll go with that because I can't
Because I'm gonna Google that just to be
right. Because depending on the medium where he shows up, they have done different things with his name and or origin, whatever. So,
right.
The less we talk about the movies, the better.
Yeah, originally known as Tomisaburo Arashikage. Okay.
So.
All
That clan.
So, but ultimately, and I'll hand it off to Roddykat. I will say that, it definitely hit me straight in the nostalgia feels. The action was just wonderful. We get to see the whale, the hovercraft in action, which is which is probably the last vehicle that I conceivably could have asked for, because I was not getting the aircraft carrier. No, I was not getting the USS Flag, but the whale was kind of like that borderline. Like, am I getting too old for this? Will my parents really get me this? That whale was one of the coolest toys that I was like, man,
Yeah. Agreed. So yeah, the only thing I'm really going to say is there is some new, there is definitely a lot of old. I would say if you are of a certain vintage and you do remember the Marvel run, this will strike you in the early portions of that run, because where there was a lot of action. I mean, not saying there wasn't later on, but like the core of that series, especially in the beginning of it, was just like they're getting into some stuff and action, and especially with a few key members, from both sides, I should say.
Basically leading the charge and leading the action. We also have the resurfacing of certain concepts like Serpentor.
And certain other concepts would.
So there's a span of time in the comics. It's basically up to like roughly issue 50 of the original Marvel run that contains most of those Serpentor. Everything up to Serpentor, and that was the highlight, the heyday of my GI Joe fandom. Everything that ran from issue 1 through issue 50.
Benji Games 2 says cover D is awesome. Yeah, which I have up on the. If you're watching the video version, that's the cover I have up right now. Yeah, it is. It's a pretty cool cover.
Yes, we talked about this cover not in the news.
Not that one. It's not that one.
Oh no, which one? Which one do you have up? I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, no, the cover you're talking about is the one they use for I think that's cover A. Right. But this one that I have up is basically got it's like some Joes on the top, some Cobras on the bottom, and they're facing each other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a cool looking cover though. But yeah,
I think it's in the issue. I was about to say, I think they have it in the issue at the back.
Yeah, I think it's this cover is in the back of the issue. Matter of fact, I'm go ahead and put it back on the regular cover. There we go. That's cover A there, which with everybody on there. Yeah, we definitely did talk about that cover some weeks ago, because one, it's an awesome project. Two, at a certain point, neither one of ours or both of ours familiarity with the characters stop at a certain part of the cover if you're starting from the bottom up.
Right. And what we appreciate is that there's certain team of that reflect in that kind of Coliseum setup or auditorium setup that are just completely unfamiliar to us as people of a certain vintage.
Right. So I would say and also the other thing is, I was surprised. So when we talked about this book probably about 4 issues ago, I thought that was the end of it, and I've said that before, so I won't really harp on that. And I said they had weirdly ended the IDW run on a cliffhanger, and then to get to this issue, and they actually did. So I was like,
they did. I was just like, what?
So technically I was right, but just at the wrong time. But I was like, yeah, what, really? Because it's a bigger than normal book. So there's a backstory after that, which harkens back to the PSAs, which was cool. But
Right.
It's a good book to pick up whether you are like, granted, you'll be lost on the last arc of it, of this story, but I think it's still a good issue to pick up, and probably people are going to pick up because it's going to be a collector's item because it's the last one of the IDW run. Whether it's going to be, you know, worth too much more than the Marvel run, it is what it is. But it is the continuation of the Marvel run. Like, they started it back in like, what, 255, I believe, or around about there in IDW, where Hama picked it up from his Marvel run. So this is pretty much the one G.I. Joe book that's been consistently going since then, because there's been like 3 or 4 other volumes of G.I. Joe that IDW has picked up, and all of those are gone. This is the one that's stuck around because
all the different reboots and retellings and rethinkings of the Joe story. But, you know, Larry Hama's still plugging away. And I have to tell you, I had a lot of fun reading this, folks.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, even if you don't know, like I said, even if you don't know what happened in the last arc or subsequent what's been going on in this book, because there has been some things going on in this book that's like some people didn't like, which arguably one of them might have gotten kind of reversed in this. But there's been some things and some new characters and like, who are these people and this and then the other and whys and whatnot, which actually just kind of makes me want to go back to the beginning of the run and kind of read through it if I ever had time, or, you know, want to get some time here and there, because I'm pretty sure we probably have them for the most part. And I know the trades of the some of the are out. Most of the trades are out at this point, with the exception of the last couple. So, but this was definitely a fun read for this. It went out with a bang, even though it was a cliffhanger. And it kind of makes me curious about you know, where the next run's are going to go when it gets to wherever it goes, which I think has not officially come out yet.
Right. You know, we talked speculatively about it.
Right.
And there has been some news, you know, and rumors floating out there that I think we've talked about in back channel talk, but not necessarily on the show, because you know, ultimately, you know, while we're not completely above talking about gossip, you know, we try not to, you know, spread too much of it.
Right.
And, you know,
but I ain't one to gossip, so you ain't heard that from me.
So, you know, ultimately we will see where the G.I. Joe Real American Hero story picks up. You know, under what publisher, under what, you know, publishing house, you know, whichever one takes that up.
So stay tuned when that becomes public, I will say. And that being the case, we can do rapid fire.
Yes, I am about to spin up the mini gun. Here we go.
I ain't got time to bleed.
Alrighty, just give me a moment to get my sheet back up. And let me go through the rest of my books. First up is Avengers Forever, number 11. It's written by Jason Aaron, with art by Jim Toe, colors by Frank Martin, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. So this is the penultimate issue, I believe, of this Avengers Forever book, because it leads directly into that Avengers Assemble Alpha, which is like basically a 3-part story that is the culmination of Jason Aaron's big one and his big story that folds in all of the Avengers 1 million BC, the current Avengers, and the multiversal Masters of Evil. This was this story highlighted what Jason Aaron has created as to be the all writer, as in a way to differentiate the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider, and making him far different from any of the other Ghost Riders that we're dealing with. And I wonder if they're, you know, writing the character off at some point. I don't know. I would be very sad to see that, because I actually like the Robbie Reyes character. I think he brings a different vibe to the Ghost Rider mythos. So how this plays out. Next up is Daredevil number 5. It's written by Chip Zdarsky with art by Marco Cacchetto, colors by Matthew Wilson, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. So Daredevil and Elektra are no longer just sitting in a tree, Kissing. It's not a spoiler, folks. They really did get hitched. And they are now in position to really take the fight to the hand as they now lead the Fist, basically a rival group to the hand, basically formed centuries ago to neutralize and possibly take out the Hand. Now, the Hand has all these soldiers, and if you've been reading The Punisher, you know that Frank Castle is now, basically running the Hand, at least in title. Daredevil and Elektra need to recruit some muscle, as it were, and that's part of the story here in this issue. And ultimately, that's what this is about. But this, let's call it a recruitment drive, leads to Daredevil showing up as a big blip on the radar of the Avengers, and that is teased as being the topic that is covered in the next issue. So ultimately, we will see where this Daredevil story goes. I'm on it for now. It seems to be interesting. Daredevil is one of those weird hit and miss stories when it goes away from being the protector of Hell's Kitchen. And this is definitely far different from that stuff. And you even have the character grappling with that particular change in perspective. And, he's used to being street level, and this is far from being street level. Next up is...
Question.
Shoot.
Is one of the people he recruits Iron in Fist Nature?
Not at this point.
Okay. And 2, is that stuff dealing with the Avengers? Are they harkening back to are they harkening back to another Daredevil story with that Avenger stuff?
No.
Okay. Carry on.
Not right now. They probably will mention it in the next issue, though.
Right. Okay.
All right. Next up is Miracle Man by Gaiman and Buckingham, The Silver Age number 2. This is, of course, written by Neil Gaiman with art by Mark Buckingham, colors by Jordi Belair, and letters by Todd Klein. So it's not really a spoiler to tell people this. This is a remix. Again, a reprise, a remix, just done by the exact same creative team. And I'm not talking about just Neil Gaiman, but also Mark Buckingham on art. And what's great about this is that this issue actually provides copies of the original black and white pencils that you can compare and contrast to what the new version, the remixed version, looks like. And you can see how Buckingham and Gaiman have kind of changed up how things flow on the page and what is being made an emphasis in terms of the visual and the and the actual written storytelling that is part of this book, and what they're seeking to emphasize and what they're looking to kind of redo and change how certain things look on the page. And I found that far more interesting than the story itself, because the story itself I'm vaguely familiar with. Rather, I was really just taken by studying these pages and looking at how Buckingham decided to reframe certain sequences to enhance, in my mind, enhance the storytelling and to better illustrate what was happening and what certain characters are feeling in the story by changing up exactly how it's portrayed and drawn on the page. So I really appreciated this book for that. So if you're interested at all in what Marvel may do with Miracle Man, you need to read this, because this is the basis. The Gaiman stuff is really the basis for what Marvel is taking and moving forward with. Next up is X-Force number 34. It's written by Benjamin Percy, with art by Chris Allen, colors are by Guru EFX, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So, if there's one frustration I have with this X-Force title right now, is that, you know, we've brought in a bunch of characters into X-Force that I don't necessarily care about or care for. One of them is Omega Red. The other one is Deadpool. But there are some mainstays to this X-Force group that remain. One of them being Domino, the other one being Sage. Interestingly, Percy is playing with Sage's demons, and Sage's demons are very much a human failing. Spoiling too much, let's just say it is a very common human failing. And it leads to certain, let's say, consequences for her X-Force teammates because of this particular human failing. I'm not going to spoil it just in case you are completely behind on what's been happening in X-Force. But suffice to say that it is a very normal thing that people deal with on a regular basis in the real world. Meanwhile, there's also a continuing push towards making this regular old Hank McCoy a less dark version of the Dark Beast from the Age of Apocalypse. He's still very much like the mad scientist. And they've really, you know, pushed the Hank McCoy character into this direction. And so if you're not comfortable with that, I'm not necessarily comfortable with it. But, you know, you got to have some characters that, you know, really bend, if not break, many of the rules, you know, from the hero side, just to, you know, populate, you know, a book like X-Force. So they decide to make Hank McCoy one of them. He used to be one of the biggest goody two-shoes out there. But this is also the character that decided to experiment on himself. So I understand where they're coming from. Ultimately, that's why that Dark Beast character came to be during the Age of Apocalypse. That he was ripe for that particular character development. And it seems like this is the direction they are taking. Maybe not to that extreme, but to some extremes. This is the direction they're taking the Hank McCoy of the 616 into. That's the direction they're taking him into. But for me.
Boo, bring back the bubbly bouncing blue beast.
That's the character I miss, but you know what?
I know.
I understand. That's the thing. You know what? It's like, I don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand.
Yeah, I know. And I feel like they've, like you said, they've been kind of pushing this character going that route for the longest time. And I hate it, but at the same time, and I felt like especially when he brought back, like, you know, when he brought back the original 5, when they were younger, like, you just been making some crazy behind quote unquote mistakes. You know, you've just been doing things, man. What are you doing? And like you said, Age of Apocalypse, which I never really fully read, so I don't remember too much about the Dark Beast. I knew the Dark Beast came from somewhere, but I couldn't remember, you know, where. But
obviously, Age of Apocalypse, you know, turned several characters on their heads.
Right.
So the characterization of several characters on their heads in order to create this apocalyptic reality.
Right.
Ultimately, what we have here is, you know, maybe these are creators that were influenced by that story, or this is just the tact, you know, the direction that they just want to take this character down. It's, you know, it's a fall from grace, as it were.
Yeah, or I don't know. Like I said, there's been some moves Marvel's been doing with a lot of things this year because of this at their 80th, and I think this would probably be a slight stretch to say that this is probably that, but they've been harkening back to old events and old things, you know, during this whole year. But this has been this character arc has been for a few years, so you can't really say that that's the case.
Right.
But I feel like this is kind of, it almost felt like it was a kind of another line of them continuing to do that this year with that. Anyway,
I was about to say, shout out to Chris Rock for inspiring that particular bit. You know, I'm not saying I agree with it, but I understand.
Indeed.
You know?
The less we say about that nonsense, the better, though.
Oh, you mean OJ? Yeah.
Well, no, that's him too, but no, I meant Chris Rock.
No, because that's where that bit comes from.
I know.
Like, I'm not saying he should have killed her, but I understand.
Which is actually, never mind. You know what? We're going. That's another topic for another time. For myself, Tim Drake Robin #3 starts off my books. Script by Megan. Hello, Megan. Oh, actually, that's supposed to be.
Oh my goodness, that's a Young Justice reference.
Megan Fitzgerald, Riley Rossmos on art, colors by Lee Luffridge, and letters by Tom Napolitano. I had this right earlier.
I was about to say, can you be respectful to another Italian?
Look, I'm not trying to butcher anybody's name here, but that's why I tried to sound it out earlier before. It was like, no, I'm gonna get this right. Anywho's, and I still end up butchering it. So, apparently Tim Drake, who has kind of went out on his own. He's sitting by the dock of the bay, or living out by the dock of the bay, and I'm not sure if he's still in Gotham or not, but it's by some marina. And he's met some colorful characters here and there. Got his boyfriend with him or around him, but he and
shout out to Otis Redding, by the way.
Indeed, he has someone gunning for him, and in this particular issue, quite actually, because he is fighting seemingly clay eyes version of the other former Robins, and the clay part seems to be more apparent if going into the end of it, but this not necessarily saying that Clayface, even though he pretty much deducted Clayface being involved with this, may or may not be the big bad of this arc, let's just say. But we do get a little bit more information about who is after Tim, not necessarily why, because there's basically a cat and mouse and also / Moriarty / Sherlock game being played with Tim. And for those who know Tim Drake, he's pretty much if there's anybody who would take up the detective part of the Batman legacy, it would be Tim, because he's pretty much the known to be the natural detective and fairly smart in that respect, and kind of got people, he notices things, and this book kind of showcases a lot of that, as it has been going so far. To what end, I'm not sure, but like I said, he does definitely have someone kind of going after him and playing some sort of cat and mouse game with him, a la Sherlock and Moriarty, which even gets referenced in this particular issue. And there's even a part where his, which kind of is funny to me, Tim's boyfriend kind of helps him out of a situation, not knowing that it's Tim, because apparently Tim's not told him that he's Robin. But at the same time, as soon as he opened his mouth, you would think he would have known that was his boyfriend. And I don't think they've been together that terribly long, because Tim Drake just came out like not that long ago, comic wise, much less, like sometime during the course of this past year or so, years when he actually came out. So it's been still
I was going to say, you sure he doesn't talk like this when he's Robin?
So I kind of wondered that, but it's not like he did like he clicked something and had a voice changer or anything. They didn't really specify any kind of changes to his voice. He just like talked. Maybe that's like an implication, but they don't really say it. So I kind of had to let that go for that reason. You know what I'm saying? Because like, how in the world do you not notice this you do? And you're right up in his face talking, like maybe he does change his voice and they just didn't put anything on it to denote it. So either way, it was kind of funny to me, because the boyfriend kind of helps him out and takes him back to Tim's own boat and kind of let some things out that he never told Tim. So, you know, I assume that's going to go and play out somewhere in some issues later on, but to what end I'm not sure at this point. Or is this just like a kind of a side plot that they're just putting in here to kind of you know, to kind of build on some things. So that's pretty much that. Like I said, I'm probably going to keep up with this book for the next couple of issues to see where this goes, or to see whether this is definitely going to take Tim, because it's supposed to be an ongoing, but you know, things being things, books live or die by the first arc, and whether they put the word out on it. Next up, All Out Avengers #3, written by Derek Landy, pencils by Agent 70 and Dirt's favorite artist, Greg Land, inks by inks by Jay Leiston, colors by Frank Darmada, and letters by VC's Corey Pettit. So the conceit of this book has been the various teams of Avengers getting into what seem to be simulations. And the running thing is that, or at least for the last couple of issues, is that they get into a predicament, specifically with, hey, one of them gets captured. Particularly in the last couple of issues, it's been Captain America. But then the whole, oh no, I'm just waiting for my friends to come, you know, and do their thing, and which ends up happening, but with various villains kind of with them, seemingly changing sides. Like last issue was Dr. Doom going up against a bunch of Dooms, but there is also a narrator that's kind of driving / controlling what the what they're doing, or at least guiding to a point. As a matter of fact, because when one of them kind of gets a whiff of, hey, wait, something's not right here, they tend to do something. But that control's kind of been slipping away a little by little each issue. And in this particular issue, the Avengers are starting to get a clue what's going on, because more of them are starting to notice some things being out of sorts. And even at the end of this issue, T'Challa kind of gets what's going on, but not to where the narrator, not fully to where the narrator wants them to get to, because apparently the narrator is like, nope, they need to be prepared for this big all-out thing that's gonna ruin the whole world, and I want to get them ready. So, but for them not to know, you know, what's going on. So, like I said, the Avengers are starting to get a clue as to what's going on. So I imagine the cracks are going to get bigger and bigger, and now there's probably going to, whoever's behind what they're putting them into is going to be shown at some point, because we have not seen them yet. So this is an interesting book, but it's a kind of weird book, especially with like the teams, because all of the teams have been kind of sort of different each issue. Like there's been some staples, like Cap's been there, Iron Man's been there, like Thor's been there pretty much the whole time. T'Challa's been there, you know. But then there's been sort of like Sam Wilson's in this one. Spider-Man's been in a couple of like in the last couple of issues, or one or two. But you know, there's been a changing of the team each time, I guess, for the scenario. And I'm not sure how long this book is supposed to go. I think it's like a 5-issue, but I'm not entirely certain. As long as it doesn't do the same thing as Savage Spider-Man, I think we're good. Coming out of nonstop Spider-Man. It's not written by the same people, but it feels like a similar vein. And I hope it didn't get that crazy. Defenders Beyond is my next book. The Defenders Beyond #5 to be specific, which is the last issue of this book. But it seemed like there's going to be more to come. It's written by Al Ewing, art by Javier Rodriguez, letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. And if I had another potential click of the week, this is definitely one of them. Because this group of Avengers, this motley crew of Avengers made up of Blue Marvel, Tigra, a version of Loki, America Chavez, and the Beyonder's mom. Not the Beyonder's mom, but the Beyonder does play a part in this. Galactus's mom, excuse me, is a part of the team, who's a new character. And there have been other people in past issues, but this has pretty much been the core team. It pretty much all comes down to this issue, in that they end up at the House of Ideas. And if that term is familiar to you outside of the reality, then it has a kind of a similar connotation inside the universe. And there, and Al Ewing kind of loves playing outside those boundaries, and it kind of shows. And even at the end of this book, it's like, hey, if you need some more reading on, the House of Ideas and where Loki kind of did this and that and other, and some other things that happened, a couple other things that happened, read these books. Like there's a FF issue or two that gets dropped, and an issue of Loki and a couple other issues. So it's some interesting reading. I think some of it I remember reading, but some of it I don't. But regardless, with the outgoing of this issue and this miniseries, it seems to set up the potential that there could be another Defender story with a couple of characters going forward, because that's kind of been a running thing of these Defenders miniseries. Is like, hey, here's a group that's been put together because of, they start off with some tarot cards and then it just kind of blossomed into some other folks that Al Ewing has played with before. So it's not, so some of the people that have shown up are not outside the realm of possibility of being in here. But it's fun because Al Ewing kind of, this is the kind of stuff that that I've enjoyed about Al Ewing's works, because it gets kind of fun. Not outside of the fact of his Immortal Hulk run, because that was just something else in a great way, but this is kind of stuff that I kind of started seeing Al Ewing early in coming across him stuff over. But it's pretty fun stuff. Whether we're going to get another Defenders mini out of this, I'm not sure, but it, like I said, it definitely does set it up if it's so ordered. So, and it would probably read better now that it's in trade, because it's also kind of like that Doctor Strange story. It's a little out there, a little weird. It kind of goes places, but not as trippy. I'll say that. And some of our Ewing stories can get kind of trippy, so that's saying something. But anyway, next book, Star Wars Yoda #1. Where is the thing? Think. There we go. The new Star Wars book. So it's let's see. It's written by Kevin Scott, art by Nico Leon, color artist Dono Sanchez Almara, and letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. This is also a potential click of the week, which kind of like that Obi-Wan Kenobi book, and kind of like a couple other books. It's basically starts off in a certain part of the timeline, but then goes back into a memory. In this particular case, Yoda is in exile on Dagobah, and who I'm presuming to be Qui-Gon Jinn's Force Ghost kind of comes calling on him for a reason. But it kind of just goes into a memory from Yoda's past that seems to be from the High Republic era, judging by the Jedi Council that show up here. But the rest of the issue kind of just is goes into this past memory where Yoda, who was on the council at the time, kind of was like, no, we need to do, I need to go do this thing. And goes off to do this thing, even though the council's kind of being the jerks they are, and be like, nah, somebody else will take care of it, or this and that, because the Jedi Council kind of have their moments. So there is that, and I think this is an ongoing. I did not check. It might be a miniseries, but I am not sure. But I have to check that out. But either way, I'm on board, because there was some great action in this. You don't necessarily see Yoda kind of cut loose the way he did in this, outside of the second movie in the prequel. So it was good to see him, and the humor was kind of there with him, so it was good. I don't know if we're going to get any answer to anything I would be interested in interested in from Yoda at this point, but it's good to see him. And plus, like I've said before, they're going to use all the characters that they have because they have them. Let's see. Next book for myself, and I believe this might be this is my last book. Midnight Suns #3. Nope, we're not doing that. Let's see. Yes, I wish I could set this up earlier, but it doesn't. OBS doesn't work that way. Midnight Suns #3, written by Ethan Sachs, art by Luigi Zagaria. And I have to say Luigi like that because Mario fans know. Colors by Antonio Fabella, and letters by VC's Joe Sabino. So we got a couple of things going on here. One part is that Agatha Harkness and Zoe Laveau is just so happen to be stalking around Zoe's ancestors' crypt for a reason. I can't say who that ancestor's in, but if the name Laveau means anything to you and you know anything about New Orleans history and that, you already know who that is. Because they're in hiding from Dr. Doom amongst other people that are trying to get Zoe Laveau. Last issue, Clea Strange had come also seeking Zoe Laveau, but ran into the rest of the Midnight Suns and was like, you know what, I'm going to take care of this. Y'all get out of the way. And she sent them to the Dark Dimension. And that is where they are in this issue, trying to get away from it. But we meet a, let's say, potential future / different reality sorcerer supreme, which gives them a hand after they free him, and they get new suits out of the deal. So there is that. So they can fight the battle with apparently one of Doctor Strange's the name of one of Doctor Strange's spells. Let's just say. Or one that you've probably seen him use that's been named, but the actual person is involved in this particular story. Let's say that. And this has nothing to do with the video game that I can see so far, because nothing in this book is attaching itself to what I've seen / watched of that game. The only thing is, it's like, yeah, it's just parallel to it because of the fact that that's coming, and the people that are involved in here are involved in that video game. That's the only tie. And that, folks, is all of my books. Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs of the week. Guess what, folks? This one might not be that long in the making.
No, not really. So
I can tell you what my Kliq of the week is right away.
As a matter of fact, you can just go ahead and say yours and Dirt's, because it's the same ones.
Yes, it is G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, number 300 from IDW this week.
Yeah. I mean, it is a great read. I'll just put that one up. So, like I said before, that is definitely a potential Kliq of the week, and factually, strangely in favor of going along with it. Yeah,
it's one of those, kind of weird weeks where, there were some good things to read, but this seemed to be the one thing that really stuck out. And obviously it's a holiday week. That's one of the main reasons why at TimDog98, didn't read, didn't pass on anything, because he didn't have a chance to read anything. Mm-hmm. So ultimately, it is a holiday week. It's kind of a weird, a week to have a release. So, I actually have not looked at next week's releases yet, but yeah, it's definitely like a kind of I don't want to say an off week, no, but it's definitely one of those.
Yeah, no, there was some decent books this week, definitely, but sometimes there are some things that just kind of impress upon you, no matter what reason, right? Like very quickly. And as a matter of fact, I think I am actually going to go with G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, number 300, because yeah, it hit a spot. Like like Dirt said, which I don't think we even said what he said, but basically it hit him in the nostalgia feels, but also was good. I believe is what he said. So, and I agree with that because yeah, it was a good read. Even if you're not up on the last arc of the book, which some context would be lost there, but they kind of go away from where the arc started from.
And what's funny about that is, yeah, you lose some context, but if you recognize the major characters and if you're familiar with a certain time period of G.I. Joe storytelling, you can kind of figure out what's been going on.
Yeah. Honestly, even if your attachment to the property is from the cartoon, I think you can still pull something from it.
Oh, absolutely.
So, all right. Well, with that, folks, that's our books of the week. We are going to go into the news section, but first, let's get an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Funko, Fun at First Sight. It's your home for exclusive collectibles, such as their world-famous pop vinyl bobbleheads, apparel, including t-shirts, hats, and socks, and brand merchandise, such as their custom DIY pop figures, art books, and skateboards. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy 10% off your entire purchase when shopping at Funko. I'm sure they have some Black Friday deals and, Black Friday weekend deals, so make sure to hit that up. To place your first order with 10%, keep our show free for you. Go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcast free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Funko link and place your order. When you get to the checkout, put in the offer code SHOP10 for your 10% off discount. Funko through cspn.us. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
And we start off with cinematic news as we do about this time. Daredevil star says she has unfinished business as Karen Page. So yeah. I keep forgetting her name. Deborah Ann Wall was recently quoted saying this here is like everyone. It says here that everyone expected the series to come back. Wait, hold on. What's going on here? Basically, she was asked whether she would come back to the character, and she basically says that because of the show got canceled, and it feels unfinished to me because they got canceled, and even though they thought we were gonna have more to do, like there's a part of her that says, I had more to say about Karen, and I felt I was in the middle of that story. She said in a recent chat, and I totally forgot she was on True Blood because this is where I first started seeing her from. She kind of mentions that show, in relation in that show pretty much got to finish its story as opposed to what they were doing with Daredevil because it got canceled. So
right.
But regardless of that, whether she's going to come back to the character or not, who's know? Because it doesn't say here whether they called her back yet. But she does go to talk about Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio glowingly. So, as she would. Next up.
So Jessica Henwick, in an exclusive to comicbook.com, teases Colleen Wing's Iron Fist return. So on the heels of Charlie Cox reprising his Daredevil role, with the MCU on She-Hulk, and Iron Fist star Finn Jones apparently voicing support for Henwick's return. The Glass Onion, that's the Knives Out movie that's out in theaters and will soon be out on Netflix that Jessica Henwick is in, shared some thoughts with comicbook.com. And so apparently Jones endorsed Henwick playing Iron Fist in a Shang-Chi sequel movie, and at the end of the day, she seems to be supportive of it. Henwick has not played Colleen Wing since 2018, but obviously things are now back in play with the reversion of these characters to Marvel Studios and of course by extension Disney Plus.
Yeah, because apparently there was something that happened at the end of that second Iron Fist season that I did not know that had happened.
Right.
Yeah, given her character, and which is the other reason why folks have been, endorsing her to come back with that. Either who's, Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special was the first MCU Disney Plus project ever pitched, apparently, according to this article. Kevin Feige, excuse me. So that special is out, by the way. If you did not know, we talked about it earlier. If you came in after we talked about it, it says here that Marvel Entertainment shared a featurette exploring the surprising origins of the holiday special, not Hollywood. During a Talking Head interview, Kevin Feige revealed that special was the first project ever pitched to Disney Plus. He said that Gunn originally proposed the idea while on the set of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which began filming in 2016, 3 years before Disney Plus's launch in 2019. And they all, quote, thought that would be great, according to the quote here. But yeah, and it goes on to go through Feige's quote on the matter, which is also kind of amusing because like, wait, this is the first thing they pitched, and not any of the other shows that actually end up coming well before this when it started. So I find that kind of amusing. That's why I put this in here. Anyway, next up.
So producer Nate Moore basically gave the very real life reason as to why Marvel Studios shifted the Armor Wars concept from Disney Plus show into it becoming a feature film, and it comes down to budgeting. So what he said in an appearance on the Town podcast, he said that, the Disney Plus shows are awesome, but the budgets are just not the same as the features, and that's no secret. And when it comes to having Don Cheadle interact with all of the previous Iron Man armors and new armors and the legacy of Tony Stark, it just becomes cost prohibitive to do that as a Disney Plus show, and that makes all the sense in the world.
It does, but it's also weird because a lot of those, some of those shows seem like they have close to movie budgets and kind of been filming with that in mind, almost movie-like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I don't think any of them really, they even have jokes about it in She-Hulk.
Oh, I know, but what I'm saying is, like, especially in the first few, it's like it just kind of felt like some of them, they were trying to go for movie-like, movie-like qualities for the shows. Right.
In certain parts, I wouldn't say all the way through.
No. Like I said, that started changing. It's kind of noticeable in some and not so much in others, obviously. Like Falcon and Winter Soldier, I feel like that's kind of one that's kind of noticeable in that that's what they were going for.
There's a shift.
Right. So, but like you said, it does definitely make sense as to why, I think some people even said, like, when this was even announced, like, why is this a show and not a movie?
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of makes sense there. Chris Hemsworth believes, I'm going to take this next one after this, by the way, because I don't think it's related, but still. Chris Hemsworth believes Thor could die during his next Marvel Studios movie. So I was talking with Vanity Fair, and Chris Hemsworth revealed that, like I said, he believes it's time to close the book on his character. Quote, yeah, for sure. I feel like we'd probably have to close the book if I've ever did it again. You know what I mean? I feel like it probably warrants that, Hemsworth told the magazine. I feel like it probably the finale, but that's not based on anything anyone's told me or any sort of plans. But you have this birth of a hero, the journey of a hero, and then the death of a hero. And I don't know. Am I at that stage? Who knows? Now, cut to this next article, which came, I think, like a day after or a day or two after this, coincidentally, Chris Hemsworth taking a break from acting after discovering he is at risk for Alzheimer's. Again, don't think that's related, but it just comes at a interesting time. So apparently in a recent episode of his National Geographic TV series Limited, which is on Disney Plus, he finds out
it comes out in the last episode,
right?
It actually, I don't know if you've watched Limitless. I've watched it here and there, so I spaced it out, so I did finish it, so I wasn't surprised to hear about this.
Right. So basically,
I'll let you finish the story and talk about it.
Yeah, he found that he is genetically predisposed to developed Alzheimer's. Meaning he has a couple of the markers that would make him, that could potentially mean that it could happen to him. Now, as someone who is dealing with someone with Alzheimer's, I don't need it. That's I hate when people do that, because like you shouldn't need that to feel for somebody, because but I understand having actually dealing with somebody who has it, that some of the things that potentially is coming his way, should that be the case? Hopefully not, but it says it's a predetermination gene, but it's not a predeterministic gene according to what he says here, but it's a strong indication. So, and it was claimed that Hemsworth's risk of Alzheimer is 8 to 10 times higher than the average person in the general population due to his genetic makeup. The idea, quote, the idea that I won't be able to remember the life I've experienced, or my wife or my kids, this is probably my biggest fear, Hemsworth said. And then there's a quote, there's a link to the Good Morning America interview where he's talking about it here. Yeah, I had not checked out that Limitless thing because I wasn't really sure. I was like, okay, it's just him going around the world just getting into stuff, or
It's about him, the overarching premise is that he's looking to live healthier and live longer.
Okay, sure.
And he has to put his body through certain things. This is actually filmed while he was in the process of getting ready for Love and Thunder.
Right.
So his body actually goes through like noticeable changes because he's putting on mass, he's putting on muscle weight for the role of Thor. And so, certain things change and they have to space things out, over the course of filming. And so it's very interesting to watch this show and just to see how, the course that, the direction that they decide to go in. So it's definitely not, it's not genre related, but it's, it's definitely, there's some thought-provoking episodes there, folks. So if you want to watch that, feel free. It is on Disney Plus as the result of it having that National Geographic aspect to it. So feel free to check that out.
Right. Which, by the way, Disney Plus's price is going up. I know some people have been getting the emails or whatever the case may be. Matter of fact, I think I've seen it in the net. So and we may have even talked about it before, but Disney Plus is going up in price. So,
yep.
Yeah. It also says here in closing, it says Hemsworth isn't retiring forever, saying that he's open to coming back to playing Thor again someday if it works out. It says here that after discovering his predisposition to Alzheimer's, he said that he was going to return home to Australia and spend some time with his family. And there's a quote here saying it's not like he's handed in his resignation. He just wanted to take some me time, basically paraphrasing what it says here. So next up, next up. Ugh.
All right, so MCU's Ironheart explains why her character debuts in Black Panther 2. So Riri Williams actor Dominique Thorne says there is a specific reason why her character Ironheart is introduced to the MCU in Black Panther 2. So, in speaking with Collider, she explains her thoughts on it. And ultimately, she states that the true origin story for the character occurs when she realizes the potential that her brilliance has during her Black Panther Wakanda Forever journey. Okay.
Yeah. So say it with me, folks. She does not have to have any part of Tony Stark show up in Ironheart. She just interacted with somebody way smarter who could gift her an AI. Stop trying to put Tony Stark into this. Yes, her comic book character is in relation. Yes, she's probably using Stark tech in the movie. She doesn't.
I was gonna say I think it already exists, but it doesn't have to exist on the same level that it does in the comics.
Exactly. Stop that stuff. Anywho, one Black Panther 2's M'Baku joke was improvised by the star Winston Duke. So spoilers for Black Panther Wakanda Forever, but I feel like we kind of ripped the bandage off of that at this point. So the one line he speaks with Okoye, you bald-headed demon, was improvised, which apparently had folks cracking up on set. So, but yeah, this is a tweet from Winston Duke, who's been on Twitter quite heavily lately since the movie dropped. But it says here the intention for M'Baku in this film is to serve as the vent for a pressure cooker, and that's what influenced this improvisational gem, amongst others. And like I said, the quote was "You bald-headed demon," which I honestly, every time the couple of times I heard it, had me cracking up. So that's cool. Next up.
All right, so Josue Soto shared a video of Namora actress Mabel Cadena on behind the scene. It was a behind the scenes video of Cadena, who portrays Namor's cousin Namora in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Shows her in full Talokan garb while filming an underwater scene. And I said this when we talked about our quickie non-spoiler reviews of the movie. The underwater scenes, some of these underwater scenes in Wakanda Forever are so well done. Mm-hmm. It felt like you yourself were under, and you essentially were, because they filmed some of them directly underwater. Whereas it often felt like like when, and I hate to compare the two, but it's natural. When you're watching Aquaman, you almost never feel like you are underwater with them.
Right. And apparently, also after this particular thing came out, I think Lupita Nyong'o showed her training, and apparently she, Winston Duke, and Ryan Coogler all had learned to swim for this movie. Like, granted, Ryan Coogler was behind the camera, but I think he felt like he said, like, he felt like he needed to be in there also, and this and that and other. And,
sure.
And Denai Guerrero also showed her, there was clips of her training, and like I said, some, which she already knew how to swim, but I think Angela Bassett too, but I don't think we've seen any footage of that. So, but yeah, it's interesting, the stuff that came out that has and continues to come out after the movie has come out, because I know Ruth Beecher, I believe his name. I can't remember. Sorry. The costuming, the head of the costuming, has been coming out.
Yeah, I know her. I remember her first name being Ruth.
Yes, has been coming out with on Twitter, talking about shots with how they did certain locations and certain shots, and certain places that they've been.
Ruth Carter.
Ruth Carter. Thank you. Yes. No, forgetting her last name, but has been going out to talking about the setup for shots and locations and things that they've been using during the whole thing. So it's been great. But speaking of Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, it surpasses 500 million globally and earns another 67.3 domestically. So it's been doing numbers. This is all according to Variety, who says that it's like 288 million at the time of this article, which was on the 20th. But yeah, still doing numbers, and I think it took over, or was poised to take over, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness's numbers spot. If it had, I think it had, but I can't remember. This article's not saying as such. I don't believe.
If it hasn't, it will soon.
Yeah, I think it has since this article has been out, because I feel like I've seen another article, but it's not in this one, because like I said, this is a few days old. Next up.
Yeah, I was about to say, based on my social media feed going into this Thanksgiving weekend, there's still people who haven't gone to see it, and they're waiting for this break, in the holiday season and in the school year, to take their kids to go see it. So I'm sure Wakanda Forever is going to get a little bit of an uptick in business this weekend. Yep. Next up, Tales of the Jedi, the anthology animated show on Disney Plus has proven a hit with fans and critics alike. And Ashley Eckstein, the voice of Ahsoka Tano, has reacted to the news that the series ranks as the #2 most in-demand new show by Parrot Analytics. So the actor gave her gratitude to the legions of Star Wars fans who've watched the series on Twitter, I guess.
Yeah. Wait, no, this is Instagram.
Oh, it's Instagram.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I had to look. I was like, wait, is that no? But yeah, it's her Instagram post. So cool. Apparently, Tales of the Jedi overtook Andor. At least for that week, because obviously this has been a couple of weeks also since this article has been out. In shocking news from a few days ago, Bob Iger comes from the rafters with his theme music in tow and says, "Bob Chapek, get out." Just oust.
Literally, don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years.
Pretty much.
Literally.
Like this.
Shout out to LL.
Like, yeah, this was the wildest thing that happened a few days ago. Like, I was not expecting something like that to happen. Like, all of a sudden we saw on Twitter, it was like, yeah, Bob Chapek is out. Bob Iger returns as CEO. Just no kind of ceremony, anything. Just like, yep, be out. I got the belt now.
Oh, no.
I was trying to think of a wrestling term, but I don't do wrestling, so so that isn't gonna happen. So I meant to check to see if there's, because usually when something like this happens, there's outside of some obvious things, I was to say, because clearly I don't know if there was like a vote of no confidence in Chapek's Chapek's leadership, or there's something else that we're not hearing that led to this. And I don't think we've gotten that.
I think it was an earnings call. I think they talked about having lost a boatload of money.
Well, yeah, but that's why I said outside of the obvious. But I feel like, because normally they would have at least said, okay, we're going to do something like this, not just like, all right, no, we already got this in place. You're out, he's in, type of situation. Because that kind of what it seemed like it was. But according to this article, it says, the Disney's board of directors announced the decision Sunday night. It's quote, "We thank Bob Chapek for his service to Disney over his long career, including navigating the company through some unprecedented challenges of the pandemic," which, he's made some missteps during his tenure, some would say. But suits an honorable chairman of the board in a statement. The quote ends with, "The board has concluded that as Disney embarks on an increasingly complex period of industry transformation, Bob Iger is uniquely situated to lead the company through this pivotal period." So, as if I'm not mistaken, if during Iger's reign, that's when we got Pixar and such. If I'm not mistaken, so he knows a thing or two about this company.
Just a few.
Yeah, but it's also, from what I understand, it's only going to be temporary, from what I've seen in places. I'm not sure. It says
2 year. He has got like a 2-year term to basically find a successor.
Right. Yeah, matter of fact, it says that here in the article. So he's not going to be there that long, just to kind of like just as an interim. So who's going to come in afterwards? Who knows? So I told myself, like, wait, so we could do this with, we can do this with big companies. Why couldn't somebody do this to Twitter? But, those folks abandoned, the spot for the money. So it is what it is. Anywho, next up.
So Smallville stars Tom Welling and Erica Durant, who played Clark Kent and Lois Lane respectively, want to revisit their DC arc that was set up in the Arrowverse. Okay, good for them.
Yeah. Like, when was the last time anybody's seen Smallville? Jensen Ackles returns as Batman in Legion of Superheroes trailer. So yeah, there was a trailer for the Legion of Superheroes animated feature, and like the aforementioned Jensen Ackles and Darren Criss return as Batman and Superman respectively. The trailer focuses on Superman's cover Kara, which is kind of funny because I'm pretty sure one of the original animated DCU things also did. So that's interesting. Also, Supergirl is being played by the Winchester's Meg Donnelly, so there's a connection there. Let's see, it says Supergirl's struggling to adjust to her new life on Earth after the devastating loss of Krypton. So, and it just goes on. I'm not going to read this whole thing. Brainiac's involved, sounds like, and the Legion of Superheroes. But you can watch the trailer out there if you haven't already for yourself. Next up.
Warner Brothers and DC Films' Black Adam has tied with its predecessor Shazam at the global box office after only a month in theaters. Okay, so according to Collider, Black Adam has accrued $366 million at the worldwide box office after adding another $5.1 million from 76 territories during its fifth weekend in theaters. So it ties it with the lifetime box office earnings of 2019's Shazam, which boasts a worldwide total of $366.1 million. And Wakanda Forever says, bah.
Really? Like, oh, that's cute. Speaking of Black Adam, it's out on digital now, and I believe it will be out on physical on December 5th, because I just didn't feel like putting the article in the show notes. But I do know that's the case. In Doctor Who news, happy 60th to Doctor Who, by the way, which is I believe recently happened. But Millie Gibson is the new Doctor Who companion, Ruby Sunday. So when Ncuti Gatwa finally actually becomes the new Doctor after what is it? Not Tennant. Yeah, it is Tennant. No, not Tennant. Yes. Regardless, after the current / former Doctor Who,
you know what I have to say to that?
I know.
Who?
Boo.
I'm sorry. I'm
I
sorry,
saw that one coming
folks.
too. I was like, okay. But yeah, she will. Millie Gibson will make her debut in 2023 when the 15th Doctor takes control of the TARDIS. Yes, David Tennant is the current and former Doctor, which that's still a weird thing I need to watch to see what in the heck happened there. It says that Millie Gibson was known for Coronation Street and Butterfly and Love Lies and Records, which is all BBC stuff that I have no idea about. So good on her, I guess. Sure. Next up.
Indiana Jones 5. I've never watched 4, and Roddykat says it's a good thing.
Yes.
Indiana Jones 5 will pit Indy against Nazis again, but in 1969 in an exclusive to Empire. This is the premise for Indiana Jones 5. He's living against the backdrop of the space race, but the Americans' effort to beat the Russians to the moon brings with it some uncomfortable truths for Indy. The simple fact is that the moon landing program was run by a bunch of ex-Nazis. How ex they are is the question.
Yes, one of those is being played by Mads Mikkelsen, which means that there are some people out there who are going to be lusting after Nazi. Because I know there are some people who love them some Mads Mikkelsen.
Okay.
Yeah. So I saw I think I posted this. I know I posted this on Reddit, and I saw I was like, the only thing that would not really change about an Indiana Jones movie, even if they no matter how often they up the time, and I'm paraphrasing here, is like how Indy is going to be aged, and not the fact that he's fighting Nazis. I'm like, yeah, you're kind of right about that. So it could be 2022 and fighting the Nazis that are actually out there, and it'd just be,
right.
The same thing. Which I did see something about Harrison Ford liking how they de-aged him in this one. So I don't know. We'll see how that looks. Dungeons and Dragons TV show gets big update up ahead of E1's sale. So Deadline released a report that provided some clarity on what could happen to some of E1's current projects, including a live-action Dungeons and Dragons television show helmed by Rawson Marshall Thurber. That would be a good time for a who. Deadline reports that the live-action Dungeons and Dragons television show was being shopped to potential buyers, like Netflix, television shows, etc., and had even garnered bids from interested parties, but that the process was interrupted by Hasbro's announcement that it was planning to sell E1. Despite the interruption, Deadline sources are optimistic about the D&D show making its way to television, with one source noting that the script for the pilot was, quote, good. I think buyers still want Dungeons & Dragons because the brand is important, the script is good, and Rawson Marshall Thurber is an exciting piece of talent. Also, may have something to do with Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings being out there and doing well. Quite possibly. That's just me paraphrasing that part. I don't know who that Rawson Marshall Thurber is, so sure. Next up.
So apparently there's some rumor out here that Fast X, the first part of a 2-part finale to the Fast saga, has a pretty astronomical budget attached to it. So, we've gotten some news that there are new cast members joining the Fast team, the departure of director Justin Lin earlier this spring, and reports of local boycotts surrounding the film's promotion of street racing. So a new report from The Wrap adds some interesting metrics to that production, with sources cited in the report claiming that Fast X's budget has ballooned to $340 million, which is 70% more than the budget of F9, the Fast saga. If this number is true, it would make Fast X, or Fast 10, the 4th most expensive modern film ever made, only being outpaced by Avengers Endgame at a whopping $356 million, Age of Ultron, which cost $365 million. Amazing that Age of Ultron cost more than Endgame. And coming in behind the most expensive, the Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, $379 million.
And I question why, but then again, I'm not really the target audience for those movies, so.
I mean, it's just, the thing is they're trying to just up the stakes, and it's just guest casting, guest starring casting galore.
Oh no, I know about Pirates of the Caribbean, but I was talking about Pirates of the Caribbean though.
Oh, I've forgotten all about those movies. I have friends that like to go watch those. I'm not in on that. Right. I'm not going with y'all on that one.
Right. No, and the reason why we're even talking about Fast and Furious, because I think overall most of everybody on the panel are fans of Fast and Furious movies. So even though it has nothing to do with
to some extent or another, right?
Right. It's not comic book related yet. I'm sure Vin Diesel has his way. There'll probably be a comic book at some point. I don't know. There is that animated show on Netflix, but we're not going to talk about that. Some sad news that I'm sure folks know at this point. Power Ranger star Jason David Frank has died at age 49. So yes, Tommy, the original Green Ranger / White Ranger / Red Ranger / he's been a couple of them, folks. It was first reported by TMZ, which I rarely ever take any stock in, but apparently it was confirmed by some folks close to him. And I don't know if this article is saying, but it might have been an apparent suicide. Was the cause of death, which is always a sad thing, but also treated slightly differently depending on who it is, sadly. Dude was only a couple of weeks younger than I am. Like, we're in the same age, but obviously quite different. But yeah, there was been an outpouring of condolences and whatnot, and cast members, talking about it after the fact that it happened. He was a beloved character I guess on and off the screen. To say the least, he Power Rangers. He was also got into MMA for a little while, and I think he was also still out there on the circuit. He was definitely out there on the circuit. In fact, was and still not a think because didn't we see some stuff from Con stuff where he was supposed to be showing up at a Con?
Yeah, I mean he was a regular on the Con circuit,
right? So, but yeah, like I said, he will definitely be missed, certainly, and of course, you can look at you can go into there's a part of his article. This Amy J. Johnson, who played Kimberly, was one of the first to give her condolences, and there's others. Walter Emmanuel Jones played Zach, and Billy also gave their condolences first, and then other people started chiming in. So yeah, there's if you go into the clickbait section, which I don't think I have it in there, but by the time folks read this and be able to see the clickbait section, there should be no, it's in there actually. I'll take it back. There will be some more another article with a bunch of folks talking about it. Next up,
Fathom Events reveals Ultraman will have a 2-night U.S. theatrical run on January 11th and 12th during the Ultraman Connection panel back during Anime NYC. So, in partnership with Fathom Events, as I said, the Shin Ultraman will have that 2-night run in theaters, and this is only in select participating theaters. Right. So you have to check your I wanted to say check your local listings, but everyone just goes to Fandango and just checks that out and sees what's going on.
We don't even have local listings anymore.
Exactly. Isn't that terrible? Woo! That's what I wanted to say.
I know. That's about. See, back in our day, we used to have. No, stop. I'm not gonna do that.
Listen, man, we used Movie Phone, damn it.
Right. Movie Phone, TV Guide, if you could afford it.
And Movie Phone was an advancement on what we had to do before that.
And if I'm not mistaken, you had to kind of sit through everything to get through the one to the movie that you wanted to get to.
Sometimes,
yeah,
right. You have to find your theater, exactly. You have to find your theater, and then you have to sit through like all the movies that your theater was showing.
Right. It's like, oh man. But yeah. Anywho, I'm curious about this because I guess they're doing with Ultraman what they did with Godzilla. I am like a casual fan of Ultraman, so I'm curious about this. And I still actually need to watch Shin Godzilla now that I think about it. Anywho.
Oh, Shin Godzilla is fun.
I know I heard outside of you, I've also heard other people saying, I was like, yeah, it's good, So
yep, it's not streaming anywhere though.
That's what I thought. So, but that's
yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate.
Yeah, there's ways.
Yeah, there are other ways to find it though.
Anime Corner. Anime Corner.
Yes, Anime Corner. Here we come.
Wait, is this you or me?
No, it's you because I did the Shin Ultraman story.
Yen Press, and I apologize because some of this stuff is probably going to overlap, but nevertheless, Yen Press announces over 24 titles at Anime NYC. I'm not going to go through all of them, but there's a Sword Art Online manga. If I had to pick out stuff that would be notable to a lot of people, I am scrolling through the article if you're watching the video version. But it will be in the show notes if you are interested and haven't already seen the news. Next up.
All right. So also at Anime NYC, Crunchyroll announced a bunch of anime editions that are going to drop in 2023. And, this article that Roddykat selected has a whole list of them. There's a bunch here I'm not going to go through, but there is a decent amount of new titles being added to Crunchyroll.
Yeah. Yep. I think the notable thing. Nope, I'm wrong. Okay, no, this is not the one. I was about to say I thought there was something of note in here, but this is just all new stuff. Next up, though, Sword Art Online, the movie, which was one of the aforementioned Yen Press things. gets a North American theatrical screening in February 2023. So, Aniplex of America officially announced that the latest film in the Sword Art Online franchise will be screened in North American theaters across U.S. and Canada, becoming, like I said, in February 2023. The announcement of the film's release was followed by the release of the second English dubbed trailer, which is attached to the article. I know there's some, and the voice cast also, including the English dubbed cast, is also in this article, if you are so inclined. Next up.
Alrighty, so in an upcoming original anime series, Buddy Daddies, there are a new key visual and a trailer were released. This show debuts next January in 2023. So take a look at this if you're interested in this new anime called Buddy Daddies. It's like, like an 80s concept, folks. You have to be of a certain vintage to get this one.
Not quite bosom buddies, but yes.
No, more like, three men and a little.
I know.
I
know. Yeah. Or so, I guess for 90s folks, three little full house. Not necessarily like. So basically, the premise is like, hey, these two contract hitmen are in charge of babysitting the boss's daughter because she kind of comes across a thing, and now they have to protect her. A part of me kind of thought, you know what could we do to spin Spy X Family? But it's not necessarily, it's not the same thing, but it kind of felt that kind of vibe when I was reading about this. And/or somehow Way of the House Husband, but not really, because there are no children in Way of the House. Well, they're not any direct children in Way of the House Husband. Anywho, My Hero Academia Season 6 shows off Kirishima's big moment. To those like Agent 70 who are up on My Hero, knows what that means. I do not.
Yup, Kirishima.
So, I'm not going to go through this whole thing because I'm not sure what's going on. And even if I was to read to it, I'm not going to remember by the time I get there. So, yeah, there you go. Just know that character's got a big moment. Next up.
The highly anticipated anime Oshi no Ko will stream exclusively on High Dive beginning in 2023, premiering with a special 90-minute first episode. Wow.
Yeah.
And this is going to premiere sometime in 2023. I'm just going through the story now just to see if there are any more details I can drop.
Yeah, I think there's a synopsis in here, but basically idols. It has something to do with idols. Which there have been plenty of shows on that, but I know people love them. Spy X Family releases a special poster for episode 20, which now that I remember, I need to watch. Because I am caught up on it, I just didn't watch the last one. So, because if I'm not mistaken, new character Fiona gets introduced in this episode, and the game is afoot, sorta. And if you're watching the video version, you can see an image from the show, or presumably from the show. The poster for it at the very least. So, and this article kind of gets into what the episode is about, which I'm not going to read because, again, I have not watched yet. Next up.
I was about to say the newest one is out later today. Now that we've rolled into Saturday,
right.
So. I'll be an episode ahead, but Roddykat will probably catch up on this very soon. Mm-hmm. So he'll be up to date by the time we convene again. Spy X Family celebrates Fiona's anime debut with a special trailer. So in celebration of the introduction of a character who apparently will play a more pivotal role in the story, the Twitter account for Spy X Family highlighted Fiona's debut in the anime with a special new trailer showing off her full character design. Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because I've watching the episode, I was like, okay, there's a character that's you see in the opening credit, in the opening themes, like, who is this person? Or in the end themes, one or two, I can't remember. But you see this character, like, okay, who is this character? but they haven't shown up yet until just now. So there you go. Attack on Titan creator shares emotional apology for a controversial ending. And before I go into this article,
so we transition. I was about to say we transition into the manga / comic book stories because the anime is not yet at this part of the story. So I will tell you that a dear friend of Agent _70 was able to get in to see Isayama at Anime NYC. And he got in for the panel, and the panel was basically all manga because he talked. This is like a major part of his talk during the panel, and so at the end of the day, this is definitely spoiler territory for someone like me who is not up to date on the manga. But I have an idea of what happens. And obviously what's been leading up to this. I actually just finished a very lengthy rewatch of the Attack on Titan anime just to refresh my recollection and also to get a better understanding because I definitely blazed through it the first time to catch up so I could catch up so I could do my friend and his friends and join their live watch parties. So now I have a much better understanding of what happened during the show. Go ahead.
Yeah, gotta love it. All right. But yeah, what was that? Oh, Attack on Titan created. Yeah. So apparently at Anime NYC, as Agent 70 just said, that his friend went to, says without going into spiritual territory, the Attack on Titan finale certainly ends its place as one of the more controversial endings in the anime world, according to this article. This stays true to the spirit of the anime's final season. Then it actually starts going into some stuff which I'm not going to mention, but it says here that Isayama took the opportunity to apologize for Attack on Titan's ending, detailing how he still doubts how he brought everything to a close, which had the audience in attendance applauding the mangaka for the work he's done on the series and bringing tears to the artist's eyes. I saw a shot of him, I guess his reaction from the panel, and it was like, oh, But it says here that, as a quote says, I want to express my gratitude to all the fans. Wasn't sure how to feel about the end of the story. I was having a really difficult time, and I apologize. Carrying heavy feelings, I was down for a long time until yesterday when I met fans during the signing. Fans told me the ending was great and that they loved the ending, and it made me happy. And coming to New York was a great experience for me. Thank you. So that's cool. You gotta love hearing about things like that. Speaking of Isayama.
So a sequel may not be in the future for Attack on Titan fans. At Annie News and Facts, not for Anakin, but tweeted a poster to mark the Attack on Titan anime's final season with a caption explaining that Attack on Titan creator Hajime Isayama currently has no plans to write another manga. Isayama fans supported his decision in the reply section, with most encouraging the author to rest after dedicating his life to the series for 12 years. Some persuaded Isayama and try to rebuild the ending for Attack on Titan, but we just talked about why he won't do that.
Right. Yeah, and we have long heard that, mangaka get worked almost actually literally to death, have at times. So I really hope he does actually take some time and rest, because kind of been at it for a long time. People seemingly are understanding about it. So that's a lot of work.
Yeah. Listen, he started that at only 19
right.
years old in 2009 with a 65-page one-shot.
Mm-hmm.
And the series only ended in 2021, so the dude needs a break.
Exactly. So other mangaka and producers and folks, take note. Let them rest.
Seriously, I mean that's taking this to a whole new level. Literally translated means dedicate your hearts.
Bleach, 1,000-Year Blood War explains secret way that Aizen saved Ichigo. Which, yeah, I really need to catch up on Bleach, because what?
Wait, I was about to say, who? Because that's foreign to me. I have not started Bleach at all, because it's one of the more
Ichigo
intimidating
is the main
ones.
character. Aizen, let's say, is not a good person. Although he
Okay.
doesn't start out that way, but there's a whole thing about that. We're not gonna go through that. When you get there, you'll know. If and or when you get through that, because there is a part you might have to go to get to that. No. Anyway, we'll talk after if you want to. But regardless, Bleach 1,000-Year Blood War has. I am very much going to catch up and try to finish up Bleach, though. Please believe. 1,000-Year Blood War has made its climactic finale for the first real fight between the Soul Reapers and the Quincy's, and the newest episode of the series surprised with a sneaky way. Wait, this is for the. This is probably in the wrong place. Yes, this is in the wrong place because this is for the anime, not the manga. So that is my fault, folks. Nevertheless, spoiler alerts if you're not up on it, and again, I'm not worried about it because I won't remember by the time I get to this point, because there's a lot to Bleach. But apparently, the latest episode, there's a revelation, and Aizen has something to do with Ichigo. I'm not going to read through all of this because yeah, I get there when I get there. Next up.
The Shin universe has given fans very different takes on classic Japanese characters, including Shin Godzilla, Shin Kamen Rider, and Shin Ultraman. So next year, Kamen Rider will hit the big screen in Japan following the aforementioned release of Shin Ultraman. Many are wondering whether the Shin universe will bring together these monsters and heroes in a dream project that could be similar to the MCU. So there's now a new line of action figures that sees these characters side by side thanks to the Shin universe's new continuity. Okay. So this is through Tamashii Nations.
Mm-hmm. Rider Kick. Which now that I just remembered, there is a that new Kamen Rider book just came out this week. We did not get a copy because we don't normally get stuff from Titan. But I think we do have a line on how to get them. Not saying we will probably be talking about it on the show, but if we happen to get the copy, something will happen.
Yeah. Now we're going to transition over to regular old comic news.
Yep. Marvel confirms that an Avenger is officially changing their code name, which had me scratching my head, but I'm just going to go with it anyway. Monica Rambeau is going back to the name Photon. So folks may or may not know, she started out as Captain Marvel. I believe Photon was her second name. So she's had a lot of names, folks, but finally ended up on Spectrum. But apparently she's going away from that for this new miniseries that she has coming out from Marvel. In fact, we have already seen her being called Photon in something from last week's books, which we hadn't read, but
right.
So that's what this article is about. Yeah, Wakanda #2 has her officially going by the name Photon in it, and that came out last week. So, which I have read this. I need to read this again. Anywho, there is that. And like I said, in her upcoming book, she will be going by Photon as well. Next up.
All righty. I'm waiting for this to load. You too can relive great Iron Man battles in I Am Iron Man, a new series that will launch in March 2023. So let's see here. I Am Iron Man is pure golden adventure action brought to you by writer. We talked about this actually, Murewa Ayodele and artist Dotun Akande. We talked about this in the wake of Iron Man #25, which came out last week.
Right, but this is the official press release for that book.
Right.
Yeah.
And on sale March 1st. That's what I was looking for.
And we didn't have a name of it then. We just knew it was coming because of that backup story in the last Iron Man thing, the last Iron Man issue. So stay tuned, folks. An original X-Men's Heroes Fall into Evil is finally complete. Actually, we kind of talked about this earlier because it's just...
We did.
Because I forgot I put this in here. But nevertheless, hey, whatever. Beast. And this is spoilers for last week's Wolverine 27, where Hank McCoy apparently goes full heel turn. Or is it full heel turn or getting there still?
Yeah. No. It's not, but it's close.
Yeah. So again, and we talked about that with the X-Force stuff. So yeah, this is just going off of that. Next up.
Marvel Spider-Man 2 makes unexpected changes from the first game. So it's going to release next year via PS5. Apparently, Insomniac Games, when it released the remastered version of the original Spider-Man video game, it notably changed the face of Peter Parker. As many remember, this decision created some controversy and was met with substantial backlash. But Insomniac Games did not and has not backtracked on it. Let's see here. Let's see here.
Allow me. I can do it.
Oh, I see.
You got it?
Apparently, it should not come as a surprise now that in the wake of that change, that Harry Osborn is being played by a new actor in this sequel.
Right. And the original voice actor was like, yeah, they went a different way. So basically they did the same thing they did with the Peter Parker when they did the remaster, in that they changed the face of Peter Parker to look younger, and they also changed the voice actor behind him. And they're doing the same here, which still doesn't make any kind of sense because you can still change the voice and not the face. Now, granted, I understand like sometimes the face don't match the voice type of situation, but you could say that about anybody. In reality, you just can't change the voice. I mean, you just can't change the voices out. Like it still didn't make any kind of sense, but that's the choice they made. So it is what it is. But it says here that while the quote is, while I voiced Harry in the first Spider-Man will function not being a sequel. He said Insomniac decided to go for the real, and the difference between me and Harry's ages was too much to overcome. So I believe, and I was bummed, but I get it. It's going to be an incredible game. But yeah, like I said, you can change the voice, but not change change the face, but don't have to change the voice. It just doesn't make any sense, but it's their call. Probably still going to play the game regardless. So it is what it is. It's kind of sad for that person though, because Deadpool gets Iron Man style armor and a unique sideshow statue. So yeah, it says Sideshow's new armorized warrior statue of Deadpool gives Iron Man some competition. The collectible company has unveiled details, looks, and an unboxing video for the special edition 6-scale figure from Hot Toys. Excuse me. The toy combines the Merc with the Mouse signature red and black color scheme with Iron Man's arc reactor powered armor and repulsor weaponry. The armorized Deadpool features light-up elements, assorted weapons, and interchangeable hands for a variety of possible poses. And if you're watching the video version, you can see pictures of the armor, which, as much as I hate to say it, doesn't look bad. I don't like Deadpool, but this is actually a nice-looking figure for what it is. And the figure is priced at $405 because it's Hot Toys and not surprising. It's going to ship between November and December of 2022. So if you're interested, it will be out shortly, I'm sure. Next up.
All right. So in celebration of the upcoming 60th anniversary of the X-Men, next year, Hasbro and Marvel are getting together to put out some multi-packs of Marvel Legends in celebration. So we've already talked about the 5-pack of kind of random X-Men, villain characters that are coming out that are already up for pre-order. But now we have releases to help people recreate the team on the cover of Uncanny X-Men number 275. This is the gatefold cover that has the X-Men going into space, and they're wearing the blue and yellow X Team uniforms. This is one of the classic Jim Lee covers from that era, and there are going to be 2 3-packs available. The first one's going to have Forge, Jubilee, and Storm in it. The other one is going to have Banshee, Gambit, and Psylocke in it. And Wolverine is going to come all by his lonesome. And interestingly enough, they are not going to issue Professor X, who is that's the character that's in the middle.
Wait, in the
cover.
the robe and the black and purple thing? Huh.
That's Professor X. You don't remember that?
No, I don't think I was reading X-Men around this time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Interesting. But what you think? Potential?
It's okay. You know, I'm definitely going to think about it because that's one of the classic covers that's in my canon, you know, my own personal like classic covers canon.
Mm-hmm.
So this is definitely tempting. It's a lot to buy though. It's 7 whole figures, you know?
Right. Also, that reminds me of some Marvel, weirdly enough, reminded me of some Marvel Snap news, but they'll say that for next week. Spider-Man No Way Home finally gets Funko Pop spoilers, which you would think they had Funko Pops by now. So it says here that the new Spider-Man No Way Home Funko Pop collection is making up for lost times in terms of sheer size. But they've organized everything so you won't have to, according to this article. There's a breakdown of the wave in this article with pre-order links. Let's see, we got like 3 Spideys, a Doc Ock, Electro, Lizard, a maskless Green Goblin, and Sandman looks like. So yeah, there you go. Oh, there's even an 8-pack Walmart exclusive that includes Lizard and Sandman. So there you go. Next up.
All right. So now you can pre-order pop figure additions to the Black Panther Wakanda Forever lineup. Because you can get an Iron Man set also. So there's an Iron Man set that goes up with a pin that's now up as well. You know, this is in conjunction with the Wakanda Forever release.
Yes, the armor picture is Riri's, and then there's a looks like a Mark II Iron Man Funko that is also pictured here. And there's a 4-pack with Nakia, Black Panther, Ironheart, MK2, and Okoye at Target for $47.99. There's Ironheart Soda. This is another Walmart exclusive. And that's in addition to that, the Spider-Man No Way Home figure that we talked about earlier, or set earlier. Star Wars: A New Hope movie poster Funko Pop features Luke Skywalker, not to be confused with Uncle Luke, and R2-D2. If you're watching the video version, you can see said pop and figure. Which, by the way, I don't know, Agent 70, did you see the other bigger one? Which with not Ready to Die, but the second album cover on it. Did you see that one?
Oh, the Funko Pop?
Yeah.
I have not yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a neat looking one. But anyway, let's see. The list price of this is $59.99, but Walmart is selling it for what? The list price is $59.99, but Walmart is selling it for $29.96. According to this article, that might change. But yeah, it's a Funko Pop with R2 and Luke and the Star Wars: A New Hope picture poster behind it. So that's cool. Next up.
The dawn of DC is just around the corner, and it promises to make 2023 into a year unlike any other for one of the biggest names in comics. So DC has officially announced its next big storytelling initiative set to span 2023. And that is, of course, Dawn of DC. It is going to be a line-wide multi-event narrative composed of over 20 individual comic book titles. Dawn of DC is slated to kick off in January with Action Comics number 1051 and will continue through the pages of Unstoppable Doom Patrol, multiple Green Lantern titles, and more. That is a very large checklist.
Right. Didn't it say something like, what, 20 titles or something?
Yeah.
That they're launching. So that's interesting.
That's a lot.
Yeah, we'll see how it works out.
That's a lot.
Neither one of us are like real big DC readers, but you know, I guess we'll
yeah, like we pick and choose.
Right.
You know, we dabble here and there, whatever floats our boat. You know, I'm an old school New Teen Titans fan, but you know the direction they're going in is very not old school New Teen Titans. So, you know, I tend to gravitate towards like, you know, the Nightwing and some of the Batman stuff. But
right. Well,
you know, that's about it.
Well, so the Titans are in Nightwing now, aren't they?
What's that?
The Titans are in Nightwing now, aren't they?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's my point.
Gotcha.
That's my point. Is that you know I gravitate towards Nightwing because that's where some of the old school New Teen Titans are.
Gotcha. So there's a couple of these I'm kind of curious about, like the Green Lantern John Stewart book I'm curious about, and that Mark Waid and Dan Moore Shazam book, kinda. Even though I didn't actually, I'm pretty sure that's finished. But that last one with Mary Marvel I didn't finish. But outside of that, I don't know. But in more DC news, which I guess is kind of non-news, but I'll put it here anyway. Mark Millar has a huge Superman project he wants to make. Apparently, if you know, DC wants him to, apparently. So it says here that he has some stories left in him regarding DC's flagship character Superman. Should DC have any interest? Says, that itch never goes away, Millar told CPR in reference to the writer's iconic Superman Red Sun series, which I need to read that actually, because I hear decent things. Quote, if you grow up loving stuff, that never disappears. Take a note, folks. I've done a lot of big Marvel books, but Superman Red Sun was the only time I got to cut loose in the sandbox at DC, so I always have ideas and have 2 big folders filled with DC stuff. It goes on to talk about Superman Red Sun. He also says, I think somewhere in here is talking about, yeah, here we go. He'd want to do something amazing on art, like the art, excuse me, he'd want to do something amazing on the art like Olivia Coipel or Pepe Larraz, just one of those amazing guys, or I just hold it back. So basically he's saying go big or go home with this project if DC goes along with it. So I guess he's just putting that out there. Next up,
Robin Damian Wayne handpicks a small team to bring down the Dark Army. Its members including heroes like Power Girl and newcomers to DC Comics. So this is part of Dark Crisis, the Dark Army #1. I think that's out this week.
Yes.
So this story has a preview of that book, so we won't talk too much about it because that book is out right now.
Right, and neither one of us have read it also, so.
Right.
Speaking of going back to what I just mentioned earlier, Nightwing's new Titans base setup base is in one of DC's most dangerous cities. So in Nightwing 101, Dick Grayson brings the Titans to Bludhaven, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, and by the way, I guess this is reminding me, solicitations for February 2023 are out for DC, Marvel, and others. So that's where some of this news is coming from. But yeah, it says it says that the issue Nightwing 101 takes place after Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths event. It says here that after a talk with Superman, Nightwing gathers a group of friends to be the premier league in the DC universe and moves their base of operations to Bludhaven, like I said. So wait. Is that out already? Is that Nightwing 101, or is that coming? No, that's no.
I think that's coming.
Solicitations. Never mind. I just said it myself.
Yeah.
It's getting late, folks. Next up.
Yeah, we're both kind of dragging here right now. Lex Luthor convinces, or has convinced a major Superman villain to work for him. So this is, I believe, this week's issue of Action Comics number 1049. So we're not going to, again, talk too much about it, but it reveals how Lex Luthor forces a dangerous Superman villain to work for him, and it involves murder, framing someone else, and more, because that's how Lex rolls.
Pretty much. And I'm pretty sure, I feel like this person would do it for peanuts, or has. But anyway, Shazam stars Zachary Levi co-writes his DC Heroes new comic book. So this was announced in the February solicitations. It says the anthology one-shot Shazam Fury of the Gods special Shazamily Matters #1. That's a,
oh my god! Yeah. Oh my god! That hurt me just to hear that.
Hey, you didn't have to say it. It features stories co-written by Shazam stars Zachary Levi and actors Grace Caroline Curry, Ross Butler, DJ Cortrona, Adam Brody, and Faith Herman. No making good, huh? Okay. The issue also features contributions made by Fury of the Gods screenwriter Henry Gayden and other comic creators such as Colleen Doran, Josh Trujillo, and Tim Seeley. So this is from the solicitations. It's going on sale February 28th, 2023. So if you're a Shazam fan, check it out when that happens. Next up.
All right, so DC introduces a new ally for Constantine and Batgirl. Meet Xanthe, or Xanthe. Lazarus Planet Dark Fate introduces a new hero created by writer Alyssa Wong and artist Haing Ging, who assists John Constantine and Cassandra Cain. So this character appears to be of Asian descent and is a new sword fighter and is a they. New details are available for Lazarus Planet Dark Fate #1 following the release of DC Comics' February 2023 solicitations, with one question asking readers what lurks in the corners of the spirit world for new character Xanthe. Okay.
Probably better than Swordmaster.
That's not that hard.
Not. I mean, wait. Come to think of it, didn't Alyssa Wong write Swordmaster also?
I think so.
Well, there you go. This new.
Wait, wasn't Alyssa Wong the one that made him the new Iron Fist?
I believe that is the case. And that's who created this character. Coincidence? I think not.
Love it.
You gotta love it. Action Comics shows off Natasha Irons' killer new costume. So illustrated by artist Kari Randolph for Action Comics 1052 and released as a part of DC's February 2023's solicitations. The issue's variant cover shows off the new design made for Natasha by artist Dan Mora. Instead of a usual metal suit, the new costume adds a sweatshirt style hood that sports the Superman shield across the torso and shoulders. The cover shows Natasha geared up while her father, John Henry Irons, that's always tickled me, aka the original Steel, floats in the air behind her. Let me see, do we get a bigger picture of it? Yep, there we go, right there. So, and that is also again from February solicitations. Next up.
So DC has revealed that the upcoming Action Comics 1050 will officially restore the secret identities for both Superman and his son, John Kent. So that's going to come out in December, next month. Mm-hmm. So, you know what? Good for them.
Right. At this point, I wasn't sure, whether their secret identity was out, because we know that's not the quote-unquote original Superman. So,
what do you mean?
If I'm not mistaken, this Superman is from another universe that took over after the other one died or something. I don't know, man. It's DC. It's crazy.
I don't know about that, but yeah, the point is they're gonna put Clark Kent back out, out front.
So yeah. Either way, DC's weird. I guarantee I think that's probably what happened, but I don't keep up with that stuff like that. It's kind of crazy though. Scooby-Doo's Daphne has been drafted to be the new Batgirl, and I believe that's for this week's Batman and Scooby-Doo Mysteries #2. It says here in the newly released second issue of the second volume of Batman Scooby-Doo Mysteries, the original Batgirl, Barbara Gordon, is left indisposed. Let us hope it's not in the ways that folks of a certain vintage might think. As such, Batman himself handpicks Daphne to temporarily take over as Batgirl. Is it because of the red hair, maybe? And yes, it says here.
Yeah, maybe.
It says here, Barbara takes fellow red-haired Daphne to her secret hideout, the Clock Tower, where she bestows the iconic costume onto her. As Batgirl, Daphne then hits the streets, with Barbara once again assuming the role of Oracle. When did Daphne learn how to fight? Okay, you know what? We're not going to do this. But yeah, there's preview pages for the issue, which now I'm kind of slightly curious to read. Next up.
Things from Another World has promoted Jules Morales to Vice President of Retail Operations, and Dark Horse Comics promoted Cara O'Neill to Vice President of Marketing. Congratulations to both of them.
Yeah. Boop. Archie Comics reinvents Betty as Horror Girl Comics' quote-unquote final girl. So, Archie has announced Chilling Adventures presents Betty, the Final Girl #1, which is slated to hit comic shops on February 15th, 2023, as a part of the Archie Horror imprint. The one-shot comes from the writing team of Nicole Ostow, Casey Gilly and Sam Maggs, the artistic team of Laura Braga, Natalie Nardoza, and Carola Borelli. Colorist Matt Herms and letterer Jack Morelli. It features the main cover by Braga as well as a variant cover by Megan Hutchinson. So this sounds like they're basically doing with Betty what they did with Sabrina in a way. And we get the solicitation text here, which I will not go into. But if that is curious, as I have seen someone actually be curious about this, check it out. Next up.
Last but not least this week, and it may seem early, but guess what, folks? The Free Comic Book Day Retailer Selection Committee has selected 44 comic book titles for the industry's most anticipated annual event to take place on Saturday, May 6th at participating comic shops worldwide. So, guess what, folks? We already know what the Free Comic Book Day titles are going to be for May 6th, 2023. So, I'm not going to go through all of them. That's a lot to go through, but you can scroll through this article that Roddykat is showing everyone on the video, and you can check out our show notes for a link to this freecomicbookday.com page, and you will see what is being teased for Free Comic Book Day in May 2023, specifically May 6th. So guess what, folks? The comic books keep on churning, Proud Mary keep on turning.
Yes, indeed. and as happened in years past, and this year's no different, a lot of times the Free Comic Book Days for the major companies will infer what's to come throughout the course of the year. I don't doubt this next year is going to be any different. And that, folks, is the end of the news section. Before we get the last ad read, let me just do a really, 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 really quick show and tell, which I totally forgot to tell Agent 70 about prior to the show. But all I have to do is reach behind me in this in this physical virtual reality of mine. Pull out this box, which is making a hell of a lot of noise. I apologize for that. And pull out. Okay. Interesting. Sorry. This is my first time actually looking at this, folks. Oh
no.
I got a figure in the mail that I bought. Unfortunately, we don't get free shit around here. We have to buy things. Bam. Hopefully if that plays a little bit. It'll play if I do this. There we go. Ta-da!
Mm-hmm.
So this is the Transformers Shattered Glass Soundwave figure. Yes, it does transform into a cassette deck. It does have tapes, as you can see.
Nice.
Here. And it also comes with blasters. So in Shattered Glass, basically the Autobots are the bad guys, and the Decepticons are the good guys, and so they are differently covered and differently, slightly differently personified, let's say. So, and this is, yeah, like I said, this is one of the characters. I don't think. Oh yeah, it does. Okay, I was about to say I don't think this thing opens, but yes, it does. But it's got a thing to it. But it's cool. So Soundwave is probably my favorite Transformer next to Prime, but definitely it definitely is my favorite Transformer. And I have this one, I have another one, and I also have Blaster, which granted isn't Soundwave, but still, just as cool. If you see the connective tissue there, you understand. There's also Sound Blaster, which I'm looking for, which is basically the clone of Soundwave from the Japanese series that I can find. And there's also an MP3 player, which I kind of want, but I don't think it's
officially licensed.
But
Yeah,
it's also $120. But I want it. So, but yeah, that is my show and tell for the week. I'm looking forward to opening that as soon as I have some space to do it, and it'll probably be back behind me prominently. But now, enough of that. Let's get one last ad read in, please.
our last ad read of the night, and you know what we read when it's late and we're tired. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us, then click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through cspn.us. Do it today.
Oh, and I forgot to mention, along with that figure, it's the last issue of Transformers Shattered Glass 2, which is, as far as I know, the end of the event. I'm not entirely sure. That's been going on for the last few months. Came out this week. I didn't get a chance to read it, but I hope to catch up on it pretty soon. Shout out to Danny Lore, who's writing those books, that book. So hopefully I get a chance to read that pretty soon, because I am a fan of the Transformers stuff, if that wasn't apparent. And folks, with that, we come to a close of another Comic Book Chronicles. I'd like to thank each and every one of you all for coming out. We will be back to our regular schedule of Thursday nights, 9:30-ish p.m. Like I said, we only did this because it was a holiday, but given how... okay, no. I was about to say...
Yeah, I don't think we have any releases to worry about through the end of the year. How do Christmas
That's what
fall?
I was just looking at.
Christmas
So,
falls on the
right.
weekend. I know that Christmas falls on the weekend, so we should not have any interruptions for the rest of 2022.
Right, which is what I was getting to, but I had to look that up. Which actually, hey, our show is on my mom's birthday.
Yeah, I know that Christmas Day falls on a Sunday.
Right. This year, Halloween fell on a weekend.
Right.
But anyway, sorry, just had to have that flash real quick. But so yeah,
More musical references,
had to
folks.
happen.
Roll down the river to the end of the show. I had to finish that particular lyric.
There we go. Even though Halloween didn't fall on the weekend this year, that was kind of a bummer. Because every time that happens, I love saying that first. Anywho, like I said, we will be back next week, Thursdays, 9:30-ish p.m. Same bat time, same bat channel. I have been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter. You can find me at Roddykat on Hive. Also, if you want to do that thing while it's, however, Twitter's still in flux. We don't know what's going on. News Nerds Need at Twitter, like I said, CB Caps on Instagram.
Instagram.
I mean, some people be showing legs.
I was about to say Roddykat took that into a very different era of talking about women's legs.
I mean, there are some folks showing their legs on Instagram, so it's not too far off. There's some men also showing their legs on Instagram, so there's not too far off.
That's true.
On that point. Agent _70 on Twitter and Instagram. Put my mic back down. PCN_dirt on Twitter, Pop Culture Network on Twitter, Pop Culture, yes, popculturenetwork.com is all his umbrella sites they're in. Tim DOGG98 on Twitter, The Kliq Nation on Twitter, that's TheKliqNation, CB Chron on Twitter, which is the Comic Book Chronicles Twitter account. And also he's over at comicbook.com where he's writing his face off. Go check him out. Timothy Adams. I don't remember if we had anything that he wrote in the lineup, but nevertheless, our boy's writing his face off over there. Go check him out. Read his stuff. Give him some clicks. Give him.
Please.
You can find this here podcast on the Coastal the Podcast Network. That's cspn.us.
Do it today.
You could also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal of the Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to hit like and subscribe and leave us all the great 5-star reviews.
Oh, hey, we're also on Hive, Comic Book Chron. So yeah, that is us. That you see the logo. If you see the logo, that is actually us, unless somebody stole it, but they did not.
Oh no!
But they did not. Trust me, I know because I've set it up. You could find us recording every Thursday night, 9:30ish p.m. on youtube.com/thekliqnation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to hit like and subscribe and hit the notification button so that you know when we are on live.
Yeah, audio.
And leave us all the good reviews.
Yeah, see if you play. Yeah, audio comes out a day or two after the show, after I get them the show to CSPN. So yeah. But with that, folks, we will return next week. No Andor, with just straight up books and news and all kind of good jazz. And I will have probably seen the holiday special by then. But nevertheless, it's irrelevant.
Yeah, we'll probably talk the holiday special very, very briefly. It's not that long. You know, there's not that much to it, but yeah, it's still fun. And, you know, by that point, that's probably going to be the only newish content that we'll have to talk about that's not comic book related.
Basically. And with that, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace, one, and in honor of our clean sweep for Kliq of the Week.
And knowing is half the battle.